Good morning, dear friend. As the sky softens into pale gold and the first light stretches across the horizon, I welcome you into this sacred stillness. The early morning is not merely a moment on the clock, it is a quiet threshold, a space between yesterday's weariness and today's possibilities. In this gentle hour, while much of the world still slumbers, heaven is awake, attentive, and waiting. Perhaps you woke today carrying something heavy. Maybe it is a burden you have not been able to name aloud. Or perhaps, like many of us, you have been holding your breath for a long time, longing for peace, but afraid to hope for it. I want to share a story with you, one that may sound familiar, even if the names are different. There is a woman named Clara. She used to greet each day with light in her eyes. But lately, she has been surviving more than living. Grief found its way into her home when her husband passed unexpectedly, and since then, the walls have been quiet, too quiet. Some mornings, she does not want to rise. Other days, she gets up only because she promised her children she would. Last week, Clara sat at her kitchen table at sunrise. Her hands trembled as she held a mug of untouched tea. Through her window, the world looked soft and golden, but inside she felt hollow. She whispered, barely aloud, "God, I can carry this." And in that whisper, something opened. Not pain, not yet, but the possibility that she was not alone. It is in moments like these, in the hush of the morning, that our hearts become most honest. When the day has not yet demanded anything from us, we are free to be exactly as we are, no masks, no performance, no striving, and that is where prayer begins. Prayer is not a performance. It is not about having the perfect words or the right emotions. It is simply a conversation, a willingness to show up. Even broken, even afraid. Prayer is how we carry our inner world to the one who already sees it. This morning, I invite you to begin that journey with me. Whether you feel full of faith or nearly empty, whether you are celebrating a victory or mourning a loss, there is space here for you. You do not have to pretend. You do not have to be ready. You only have to be willing to speak and to listen. The series of prayers that follow were created not just as words to read, but as a gentle walk with God across the mornings of your life. Each chapter is a step not toward perfection, but toward presence. We will move together through sorrow, silence, gratitude, surrender, breakthrough, and finally hope. There is no rush here, no urgency, just a sacred invitation to breathe, to open, and to begin again. These prayers will not fix everything, but they will remind you that you are not alone in anything. As you enter this time of morning devotion, I encourage you to pause before each chapter. Let your heart speak before your mouth does. Close your eyes. Feel the rhythm of your breath. Let this be more than routine. Let it become relationship. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. Even now, in your quiet room or busy kitchen or weary commute. The God who made you is near. The same God who spoke into the darkness and called forth light is still speaking. And what he longs for is you. Let us walk into this together. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you this morning not with polished words or practiced strength, but with an open heart, his weary and longing to be held. As the first light rises beyond my window, and the air still carries the silence of night, I awaken into a space that feels both fragile and sacred. I am not here because I have everything together. I am here because I need you more than I can even explain. I come with questions I have carried too long and emotions I have tried to quiet but cannot ignore any longer. I do not want to hide behind business or distraction. I want to meet you here in this quiet hour while the world is still stretching into the day. Sometimes I wake up feeling empty before the day has even started. My body moves through the motions, but my spirit lags behind. There are mornings when the sun touches everything but me, and I wonder if I have drifted too far from joy to ever return. But even in this emptiness, something inside me whispers that I was not made to carry all this alone. That whisper is what brings me here now. It is the hope that you are still near, even if I cannot feel it yet. It is the hope that you hear prayers that come not from strength, but from surrender. You see everything I am trying to hold together. You know the thoughts I dare not speak aloud, and the memories I revisit when no one is watching. You know how hard it is to wake up to another day, when the weight of yesterday still clings to me. And yet, you have met me in this moment, not with judgment, but with gentle welcome. You have made space for me in your presence, even as I stumble in. I do not need to impress you. I only need to be honest, so here I am, unsure, undone, but willing. I bring you my awareness, not to be pitied, but to be known. I bring you the heaviness I carry, not for answers right away, but for companionship in the waiting. I bring you the ache that sits quietly in my chest when everything else is still. I am not asking for perfect clarity. I am asking for you. Just you, because even if nothing changes around me today, I know something shifts inside me when I remember that I am not walking alone. You are the God who meets people in the middle of deserts and prisons and quiet gardens. You are the God who shows up not just in miracles, but in mornings. You step into ordinary moments and fill them with the extraordinary kindness of your presence. So even if my room is quiet and the light outside feels distant, I choose to believe you are here. And if you are here, then hope is here too. Teach me how to begin again. Teach me how to breathe in this moment without rushing to fix the next. Let this morning be less about doing and more about being. Let it be a space where I stop striving and start receiving. Let it be a place where I can bring my confusion and sadness without fear of rejection. You have seen every failed attempt, every broken promise, every moment I have chosen to run instead of stay. And still, you wait. You invite. You love. If I am honest, sometimes I do not know what I need. Sometimes I think I want peace, but what I really need is surrender. Sometimes I pray for strength, but you are offering rest. Sometimes I ask for answers, when what would heal me more is simply to be heard. So hear me now, even in the words I do not know how to say. Search the spaces between my sentences. Gather up the pieces I cannot carry alone. Hold them for me until I am strong enough to hold them with you. This morning, I do not ask for perfection. I ask for presence. I do not ask for every burden to be lifted. I ask for courage to carry what is mine without losing my heart along the way. I do not ask to be spared from pain. I ask to be formed by it, not broken. I ask for a heart that stays soft even when life feels hard. I ask for grace to be the first thing I see and the last thing I cling to when the day ends. Let this morning be a turning point, not because circumstances change instantly, but because I am willing to change slowly. Let it be the start of a new rhythm, not driven by fear or duty, but by desire to be near you. Let it be the first of many mornings, where I meet you not out of obligation, but out of longing. I want to learn what it means to walk with you in the small steps, to trust you in the shadows, and to listen for you in the silences between my prayers. I know that you do not need perfect prayers. You do not wait for the right tone or timing. You respond to honesty, to surrender, to hearts cracked open. You draw near to the brokenhearted. And this morning, I am choosing to believe that includes me. Even if all I can offer is a whisper, you are listening. Even if all I can do is sit in silence, you are still moving. As the sun slowly rises outside, rise in me too. Wake up the parts of my spirit that have fallen asleep. Stir the dreams I buried in fear. Rekindle the hope I have forgotten how to hold. Remind me that your mercies are new this morning. Not because I earn them, but because you are good. You are always good, even when life is not easy, even when my path feels unclear, even when my heart is tired. You are still good, and you are still God. So I come to you with what I have, as I am, no more and no less, and I wait. I wait not with desperation, but with expectation. I wait not for everything to be perfect, but for something to begin. I wait not alone, but with you. And that is enough for this morning. Father, you were already here when I woke this morning. Even before my eyes opened, you were waiting not with demands, but with quiet presence. I come to you now still feeling the weight of yesterday's silence. After all I said in the last prayer, I thought I might feel lighter, but my heart still trembles a little. I am learning that healing does not always come with loud revelation. Sometimes it arrives in slow, steady waves. Sometimes it begins when I allow myself to cry in stillness, without shame. There is something different about this quiet hour. The world has not yet begun to pull at me. No one needs anything from me right now. And yet, in this silence, the ache inside grows louder. There is no noise to hide behind, no rush to keep me from feeling what I have pushed aside. It is just you and me here. And that kind of closeness brings honesty to the surface. I do not know how to say everything I feel. I only know that my tears speak a language you understand. Some tears come from places I have buried too deep to name. Others rise from fresh wounds I pretend are already healing. I bring them all to you now. I bring the sorrow I have dressed up as strength. I bring the disappointments that sting in quiet moments. When no one is watching, I bring the fears I try to silence by staying busy. But here, in the stillness, they rise. And so do I not to fix them, but to release them. I do not need answers right now. I do not need you to explain everything that has gone wrong. I only need to be held while I weep. I need to believe that my cries are not ignored, that you are the kind of father who leans in when I fall apart, that you do not require composure, only honesty, that tears are not weakness in your presence, but a form of prayer too deep for words. When I was a child, I used to cry until someone held me. As I grew older, I learned to hide those tears, to replace them with smiles or silence. But now, I am learning to return to that childlike trust, not because I am childish, but because I am human. I am learning that when I stop pretending to be strong, I finally make room for you to be my strength. I do not have to carry this alone. You are not repelled by my sadness. You are drawn to it. In the stillness, I hear my own breathing again. It is not rushed or forced. It reminds me that I am still alive. Still here. Still able to begin again, even in sadness. There is something sacred in this breath. This moment. This fragile act of showing up. You meet me not when I have it all together, but when I dare to admit that I do not. You whisper to my heart when the world goes quiet. And now, in this sacred silence, I am listening. There are people I love who do not understand this part of me. They see strength as silence and struggle as weakness. They do not see the holiness in falling apart before you, but you do. And that is enough for me. I do not pray to be understood by the world. I pray to be known by you. I do not seek validation. I seek comfort. And you, Father, are the only one who can offer both. When my voice trembles and my eyes blur, when my words fail and my courage thins, I know that you do not withdraw. You remain. You gather every tear. You cradle the pieces of my heart that even I do not know how to hold. You are not overwhelmed by my emotions. You are not intimidated by my grief. You are steady, present, kind. This morning, I bring you my cries not as complaints, but as confessions. I confess that I do not know how to carry this sorrow anymore. I confess that I sometimes doubt you will meet me in this. I confess that I feel far away even when I pray. But I also confess this hope, this flicker that refuses to die. The hope that you hear me. The hope that you are near. The hope that my tears are doing work my words never could. Let this stillness be where you begin to mend what has. Unraveled, let this silence become a sanctuary, not a void. Let my cries rise like incense before you. Not as noise, but as faith. Because even crying is an act of belief. It says, trust someone is listening. And I do trust. Even now, even in the breaking, even when comfort feels delayed and answers seem far. I do not know what today will bring, but I ask that you help me carry this tenderness with care. Help me not to shut it down or rush it away. Help me to treat my sadness as a sacred offering, not a failure. Let it be part of the journey, not a detour. Let it remind me that I am alive, that I am still connected to hope, that I am still yours. I will not shame myself for weeping. If Jesus wept, then surely I can too. If he knew the sorrow of this world and still chose love, then surely I can sit in my own sorrow and still believe. Help me to hold that truth. Help me to believe that healing can begin in tears, that tears can be holy ground. In this quiet hour, I am not asking for joy to replace sorrow. I am asking for you to be with me inside it. I am asking to be reminded that I am not forgotten, that you are still writing my story, even when the pages feel heavy, that you are still whispering love, even when I am too tired to speak. So I cry, and I stay, and I listen, and I trust, and in this sacred stillness, I begin again. Heavenly Father, as I sit in the stillness of this morning, with the residue of yesterday's tears still soft upon my heart, I find myself reaching backward not to dwell, but to remember. The pain I carried yesterday made space for something deeper today. It stirred not just sorrow, but the need to recall the moments where you have already come through. Sometimes healing begins by looking behind, not to reopen wounds, but to uncover the evidence that you were always there, even in the hardest places. Father, you know how quickly I forget. In the rush of new challenges and the noise of unanswered prayers, my memory begins to fade. I forget the breakthroughs I once celebrated. I forget the mountains you already moved. I forget the nights you held me when no one else knew how. But you remember. You remember every rescue, every provision, every whisper of grace that carried me forward. And this morning, I choose to remember with you. There were times when I thought I would not make it, times when fear seemed louder than faith and darkness thicker than light. But even then, you were not absent. You were holding things together behind the curtain. There was a night when I sat alone, certain that everything I loved was falling apart. But in the silence you sent someone with exactly the words I needed to hear. There was a morning when I had no idea how I would pay the bills or face the day. And somehow, without me even knowing how, you provided enough. And it was not just provision in the physical. It was provision for my soul. You gave me breath when I felt suffocated by grief. You gave me laughter again after seasons of silence. You gave me a sunrise that broke through the clouds of despair, not to erase the storm, but to prove that light always returns. You sent peace into places where chaos had lived for too long. And now, Father, I choose to remember. Let my memory be a well I return to. Let it be filled with the water of what you have already done. Let it be the anchor that holds me steady when doubt tries to pull me away. You did not bring me this far just to leave me here. The same God who healed my heart before will heal again. The same voice that calmed the sea will calm the storms within me now. The same arms that held me when I fell will hold me again when I cannot stand. You have not changed. I remember the prayers you answered that I never even spoke out loud. I remember the strength you gave me when I had none of my own. I remember the way you used broken moments to teach me what wholeness truly means. And I remember the miracle that I am still here. I have not always understood the path you placed me on. I have not always liked it, but even then, you turned it into something more than survival. You wove meaning into the mess. You planted growth in the grief. And you never once let go. Sometimes miracles do not look like parted seas or lightning in the sky. Sometimes they look like breath returning to tired lungs. Like a phone call at the perfect moment. Like forgiveness rising after years of silence. Sometimes miracles are quiet things, invisible to everyone but the one who receives them. And those miracles are the ones I cling to this morning. Help me to write them down not just with pen and paper, but with the way I live and pray. Let the memories of what you have done become the foundation for what I believe you will do. Let them become stones I lay along the path, markers of your faithfulness that remind me I never walk alone. When I feel shaken, let me go back to the place where I last felt you near. Not to stay there, but to remember how far you have already carried me. And if ever I doubt again, and I know I will remind me to pause and trace the fingerprints of grace across my story. Remind me of the doors you opened when I stood before walls. Remind me of the healing that came slower than I wanted, but deeper than I expected. Remind me of the way you turned endings into beginnings and silence into song. I do not want to be the one who forgets once the pain passes. I want to be the one who remembers, even when it is inconvenient, even when it is easier to complain, even when new fear tries to erase old faith. This morning, I choose to honor what you have already done, not just in the big moments that others celebrated, but in the private ones that only you and I knew about. I honor the quiet miracles that were never shared on platforms, but changed my life just the same. Honor the grace that showed up unannounced, and the strength that arrived in the middle of my weakness. I honor the love that found me even when I was pushing it away. Let my memory become a place of worship. Let it stir up gratitude instead of nostalgia, courage instead of regret. Let it remind me that if you were faithful before, you will be faithful again. Not because I deserve it, but because that is who you are. You are the same yesterday, today, and forever. And every miracle you have done still echoes through my soul as a reminder that you are near. I do not ask for signs today. I only ask for eyes to see what is already around me. Let me not miss the miracle of this breath. This stillness, this sunrise that was never promised but given freely. Let me not grow numb to the wonders woven into the ordinary. Help me see you in the little things, a kind word, a flicker of peace, a moment of laughter that feels like heaven brushing against earth. These two are miracles, and I do not want to miss them. So I remember. I remember because I need to. I remember because it helps me breathe. I remember because in doing so, I find my strength again. And as I carry that memory into this day, I carry you with me too. Father, even as I remember the miracles, even as I hold on to the truth that you have been good, something deep within me remains unsettled. I do not doubt that you are faithful. I do not question your presence. But there is something stirring inside me that I cannot ignore. It is not anger. It is not fear. It is a longing too raw for words and too persistent to silence. I come to you now not in stillness, but in tension. I come to wrestle, not to rebel, but to be real. This morning, I feel like Jacob on the riverbank, worn from the journey, but unwilling to let go. I carry questions that want to leave me alone and hopes that have not yet come to pass. I carry prayers I have repeated so many times they feel like background noise. And still, I return to them. Because there is nowhere else to go with this Aish. I come to you not because I have answers, but because I refuse to stop believing that they exist in you. You are not fragile. Father, you are not thrown off by my wrestling. You invite it. You meet me in it. You allow the struggle, because you care more about the transformation of my heart than the appearance of calm. You are not a distant figure waiting for my composure. You are the one who comes near when I am gasping for breath in the middle of the night, when my faith is tired, and when my prayers sound more like groans than poetry. There are moments when I want to pray softly, but the truth rises like a wave and demands to be spoken. I want to ask without trembling, but desperation gives my voice its edge. I want to trust without needing to wrestle, but the truth is, my trust grows deeper when it has been tested. So I hold on to you with everything I have, not to fight you off, but to cling to the only thing that has ever made sense in a world that often does not. I do not want to let go until something shifts. I do not want to walk away until I know I have truly met you here. I do not need everything answered, but I do need to know that you are still willing to be found in the struggle. I need to know that you are not just the God of peace, but also the God who enters the storm. That you are not only near when I whisper softly, but also when I wrestle through the dark with no map in sight. This morning, I bring you my contradictions. I believe, and yet I battle doubt. I trust you, and yet I ask again and again. I worship, but I also weep. I speak truth, but I carry fear. And still, I come. Still, I pray. Still, I press into this holy struggle. Because I know that something sacred happens here. Something more honest than control. More transforming than comfort. Something that changes the very shape of who I am. I think of Jacob limping away from that long night encounter, marked forever by the struggle and renamed because of it. And maybe that is part of what I need today, not an escape from this moment, but a new name for what I have carried through it, a new identity shaped by closeness, not by ease, a deeper faith that was not inherited, but forged in fire, a testimony not born from safety, but from surrender. There are things I have not yet released to you, because I feared what you might ask of me in return. There are prayers I have whispered with one hand open, and the other tightly clenched. I want to let go, but part of me still grips what I cannot control. This morning, I ask for the courage to wrestle through those places until surrender becomes my response. Not because I am defeated, but because I am finally ready to be free. You are not frustrated with me for struggling. You are the one who waits through the tension, who walks through the night beside me, who lets the questions rise so that truth can take root. You do not require blind obedience. You ask for honest hearts. You ask for a faith that is not polished but persistent. You bless those who dare to meet you in the breaking, who show up with limp hearts and limp bodies and still say, I will not let go. So I wrestle today not out of rebellion but out of intimacy. I wrestle because I care. I wrestle because something inside me believes you are listening, because I trust you enough to bring you the very parts of me that others may not understand. I trust you with the unfinished prayers and the raw H. I trust you with the places I cannot name, but still feel deeply. And I trust that even in the wrestling, you are near. Let this struggle not drive me from you, but deeper into you. Let it uncover what is hidden, expose what is false, and reveal what is holy. Let it be the place where I finally lay down the versions of you I created in fear, and receive instead the real you, the one who stays when it is messy, the one who speaks when I least expect, the one who holds on when I am too tired to keep my grip. I do not know how long this part of the journey will last. I do not know if this morning will end with clarity or simply with quiet. But I do know this: I would rather wrestle with you than rest in anything without you. I would rather be uncomfortable in your presence than comfortable in absence. I would rather limp forward with you than run alone. So I stay here, knees on the floor, hands open, heart honest, not demanding, but refusing to pretend, not angry, but unwilling to settle for less than closeness, not lost, but still searching. And in this sacred tension, I find not distance, but intimacy, not rejection, but welcome, not silence, but a deeper sound, the sound of being heard even before I speak. And if I limp after this, let it be because I have met you. Let it be because something shifted inside that cannot be explained, but cannot be denied. Let it be because I finally stopped running and chose instead to cling. Father, after all the words I poured out yesterday, after all the wrestling that left me breathless and aching, I sit here now in the quiet that follows. I do not know what I expected to feel, maybe a release, maybe a resolution, but instead, I find only silence. Not the kind that wounds, but the kind that unsettles. This morning, it is not answers that greet me, but absence. And yet, somehow, I sense you in it. The struggle opened something in me. It stripped away what was no longer true, exposed what had been buried, and left behind a space I cannot yet define. And now that I have stopped striving, all I can do is wait. I do not hear you clearly. I do not feel your nearness the way I long to, but I am still here, still returning, still choosing this quiet space where I believe you are working even when you seem silent. Father, I confess that waiting is hard for me. Silence feels like distance, and distance feels like rejection. But I know, deep down, that silence is not the same as absence. I know that love can be quiet. I know that presence does not always come with sound. Still, I struggle with the uncertainty. I want to know what is next. I want to feel movement. I want to see signs. And yet, all I have right now is the stillness. Help me not to fill this silence with noise. Help me resist the urge to escape it, to busy myself until I no longer feel the ache of not knowing. Teach me to sit inside this hush with reverence, not restlessness. Let this waiting be more than delay. Let it be transformation. Let it be the fertile ground where trust grows roots that will hold me steady in seasons far beyond this one. I think of the seeds buried beneath cold soil, unmoving yet not untouched. They are not forgotten. They are not lifeless. They are becoming. I want to believe the same is true of me, that in this silence, you are still at work, preparing something beneath the surface of my life. I may not feel it. I may not see it. But that does not mean nothing is happening. You are not late. You are not uninterested. You are simply patient in a way that my soul is still learning to trust. And so I wait not because I have no choice, but because I believe waiting with you is more powerful than rushing ahead without you. I do not want to outrun what you are doing in me. I do not want to miss the depth of what is forming here, simply because I was uncomfortable with stillness. If you are quiet today, then let your silence become my teacher. Let it show me where I have been clinging to the noise for comfort. Let it teach me that not every silence is empty, that sometimes you speak best through what you withhold. Let it remind me that faith is not always loud. Sometimes it is a quiet resolve to stay present, even when nothing makes sense. I do not want to idolize clarity. I do not want to demand signs as proof of your care. I want to be the kind of heart that remains open even when heaven feels sealed shut. I want to be the kind of soul that sits by the window of prayer long after the light has faded, believing that morning always comes. Because it always has, because you always have, let this waiting strip away my timelines, my expectations, my deadlines. Let it make space for surrender. Let it stretch me so that when the answer finally arrives, my heart will be wide enough to receive it without fear. I am not asking for guarantees today. I am only asking for the grace to remain right here in this moment, right here in this stillness. Father, I will not pretend the silence feels good. It challenges everything in me that wants to measure, to control, to confirm. But perhaps that is part of the gift. Perhaps the silence is where I learn that faith is not a formula, and love is not earned by effort. Perhaps the silence is not a void, but a doorway, a threshold to a deeper kind of knowing. There is a holiness to this pause, a sacredness in this breath. I do not want to rush through it. I want to meet you in it. If you are not speaking, let me learn to listen in new ways. Let me hear the language of your nearness in the wind outside, the rhythm of my own heartbeat, the stillness that softens the edges of my anxiety. Let me remember that even silence is held in your hands. If I have been addicted to answers, win me from that need. If I have looked for you only in movement, teach me to find you in the waiting. If I have doubted that stillness could be sacred, show me otherwise. I do not want to live only in the fire and the flood. I want to learn how to find you in the whisper, in the pause, in the slow unfolding. This morning, I bring you not new requests, but renewed willingness. I bring you not desperate cries, but quiet trust. I bring you not demands, but open hands. Whatever you are doing in this silence, I choose to stay here long enough to see it bloom. I choose to believe that you are never still without purpose. So if this season holds more waiting than moving, more stillness than speaking, more questions than clarity, Let it also hold more trust than doubt. Let it deepen what was once shallow. Let it settle what has long been anxious. Let it embur a steadiness that is not shaken by delays or detours. Let it become the place where I learn to love you, not for what you say, but simply for who you are. Father, you know me well enough to understand what silence stirs in me, and you love me enough not to rush to fill it. After the quiet of waiting, something soft has broken open in me, not in anger or despair, but in release. This morning, I sit with tears on my face before a single word is spoken. I do not fight them. I do not wipe them away too quickly. I let them fall, because I am beginning to believe that tears themselves can be a kind of prayer. I used to think prayer had to be composed tidy, planned, spoken with poise. But today, all I have are tears. And yet, I sense that you are listening more closely now than ever. Not because I am saying something eloquent, but because I am offering something true. My tears are not proof that I lack faith. They are the evidence that I am fully alive in your presence, that I am letting go of pretending and leaning into trust. Father, you know the stories behind every tear, the grief that has no expiration, the ache that words have failed to capture, the hope that keeps rising even when it gets knocked down. Some tears are old, stored in hidden corners of memory. Some are new, born from fresh uncertainty. But all of them carry weight. All of them say what I cannot. And in your presence, I no longer feel the need to hide them. There is something holy about these moments, when I stop holding myself together, when I stop bracing and just allow the wave to come. It is not weakness, it is worship. It is me trusting that you are strong enough to handle what I feel. It is me acknowledging that I do not have to keep performing courage to be loved. You receive me like this, undone and still worthy. Some of these tears are for the things I have lost, people I cannot hold, dreams that did not become real, seasons that ended too soon. Some of these tears are for the parts of myself I wish were different, the fears that still linger, the patterns I thought I had outgrown. Others are born from a strange beauty, a fragile joy that feels too tender to speak aloud. Even in gratitude, my tears fall, because I realize how much I have been carried through, and how undeserving I feel of this kind of mercy. You are not uncomfortable with emotion. You are the one who gave it. You wept outside Lazarus' tomb, not because you lacked power, but because you were fully present. You knew resurrection was coming, and you still allowed yourself to mourn. That gives me permission to do the same, to sit in sorrow without apology, to cry not just when everything falls apart, but also when I feel the deep touch of being seen. Let these tears do their work. Let them soften what has hardened. Let them cleanse what has been stained by shame. Let them irrigate the soil of my soul so something new can grow. Let them remind me that vulnerability is not a step backward. It is a sign that my heart is still tender, still willing, still open. I think of how many times I have dismissed my own pain, how quickly I have told myself to move on, to stop being dramatic, to keep going. But you never say that to me. You do not rush me through sorrow. You do not demand that I skip the H. You sit with me in it, and somehow that changes everything. You bring stillness to the storm, not by removing the waves, but by holding me steady through them. This morning, I am not here to ask for much. I am here to be real, to let what has been buried surface, to stop translating everything into words when tears say it better. I know you understand every drop. I know you collect them, not with impatience but with reverence. And that comforts me in a way words never could. Let this be a day where I stop apologizing for how I feel. Let this be a day when I believe my emotions are not too much for you. Let this be a day when I stop trying to explain myself to you and simply exist with you. The unspoken parts of me are not hidden from you. The sadness I try to disguise is already fully visible. And still, you stay. Tears are honest. They do not lie. They flow when the soul is ready, not when the schedule says so. And sometimes, they are the most honest form of surrender. So I offer them now, not as something to fix, but as something to hold. I do not ask you to stop them. I ask you to meet me in them. I know that you are doing something in this space, that in the places where words run dry, you move more deeply, that healing does not always begin with clarity, but sometimes with collapse. And if my tears are what help me collapse into your care, then let them come. Let them fall until I no longer fear their presence. Let them fall until my spirit feels cleansed. Let them fall until peace begins to whisper again. There is a kind of freedom here, a relief in not having to figure it all out, a grace that meets me exactly as I am. You are not asking me to be stronger today. You are simply asking me to be here, present, soft, honest, and in this moment, that is what I offer you. If this is a sacred unraveling, then unravel me with care, and when the tears stop falling, if they ever do today, let them leave behind space for hope to stretch its legs again, space for trust to settle in, space for joy to return not as a performance, but as something true. I believe that what you begin in tears, you always finish in peace. So here I am, quiet but not cold, broken but not abandoned, weeping but not hopeless. Here I am, still praying, still choosing to turn toward you instead of away, still believing that even if my tears are all I have to give, you receive them as holy, still trusting that you are with me, even in the silence between each drop. After the tears have fallen and the silence has softened my heart, I feel something shifting deep within me. Not loudly, not suddenly, but like a thread being pulled loose, quiet yet unmistakable. There is a breaking happening, and for the first time in a long time, I am not afraid of it. I sense that you are not just comforting me here. You are freeing me. The weight I have been carrying is not only emotional, it is spiritual. Some of these burdens I have held for years, so tightly woven into my identity that I forgot they were never meant to stay. Shame that settled into my bones. Guilt that whispered its accusations in the dark. Fear that crept in through cracks and made itself at home. I have lived with these things as though they were permanent, as though they were stronger than your love. But they are not. You are beginning to break the chains. I did not know still bound me. And this time, I am not pulling back. I am not clinging to what I thought kept me safe. I am opening my hands. I am loosening my grip on the stories that kept me stuck, the lies that sounded like truth, the heaviness I thought I deserved, because I see now, through the weeping and waiting, that you are not here to fix me. You are here to set me free. Father, I do not want to live half alive. I do not want to walk through this life tethered to invisible prisons. If you are the God who sets captives free, then I am asking you to do that here, in me, not with drama, not with noise, but with the quiet power that has always been yours. The power to break what has held me down and hold what has been broken. There are patterns I cannot break on my own, thoughts that come uninvited and stay too long, memories that still sting, habits that pretend to comfort but slowly drain my soul. I have tried to fight them in my strength, but now I see that my strength is not the answer. Your presence is, your truth is, your love is. Only you can break these chains without breaking me. Some of these chains are made of fear of failure, of rejection, of not being enough, fear of being seen fully and not being loved. And yet, you see me now, all of me, and you are not turning away. You do not recoil. You draw closer. You speak truth where the enemy has shouted lies. You whisper peace where panic has lived. You remind me that fear does not get to rule me anymore. Not when you have called me by name. Other chains look like control. The need to manage everything, to keep my world from falling apart. But I know now that control is an illusion that only makes me more anxious. So I release it. I give you the pieces. I give you the outcomes. I give you the weight of making it all work, because you are God and I am not. And that is not a threat to my peace, it is the beginning of it. Still more chains come from what others have spoken over me. Words that stung and stuck, labels that were never mine to carry, roles I stepped into to feel safe or needed, but that never fit. I bring them all to you now. I bring every judgment, every insult, every dismissal, and I lay them at your feet. You are the only one who gets to name me, and you call me loved, you call me chosen, you call me free. You are not intimidated by my chains. You are not frustrated by how long I have worn them. You are patient. You are kind. And you are powerful. You break chains not with violence, but with truth, not by force, but by the kind of love that reaches into dark places and brings light. You break them one whisper at a time, one revelation at a time, one morning like this at a time. So let it happen here. Father, let this morning be more than routine. Let it be a turning point. Let it be the moment when something finally snaps and I walk forward lighter. I do not need to understand every part of it. I only need to say yes. Yes to freedom. Yes to healing. Yes to becoming someone who is no longer defined by what once held me captive. I know the journey is not always immediate. Some chains fall all at once. Others loosen slowly. But either way, I choose to walk in the direction of freedom. I choose to believe that healing is not a myth, that restoration is not reserved for someone else, that I am not too broken or too far gone, that you can do this in me, and you are already doing it. You are not just the God of ancient stories. You are the God of this moment. And just as you opened prison doors for Paul and Silas at midnight, you are still doing that today, not just in the dramatic miracles, but in the quiet decisions to come back to you, again and again. In the prayers whispered through clenched teeth, in the tears that fall when no one is watching, in the surrender that says, I cannot do this alone, and I do not have to. Let me carry the sound of broken chains into this day. Let it echo in my steps. Let it remind me that I am no longer who I was, that I am being made new, that I do not have to return to what once imprisoned me, not in thought, not in behavior, not in identity. Let me walk as someone who has been loosed and loved, someone who knows what it costs to be free and chooses it anyway. And when I am tempted to pick the chains back up, to reach for what once kept me numb, remind me of this moment. Remind me of this quiet courage. Remind me of how you met me not in shame, but in grace. Not with accusation, but with invitation. And remind me that freedom is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of you in the middle of it. I will walk with a limp if I must. I will take slow steps if that is all I have. But I will not go backward. I will not live in what you have already defeated. You are the one who breaks chains, and you are breaking mine. Father, now that I have laid down the chains I once carried, I notice something stirring in the spaces they left behind. Not anxiety, not pressure to fill the silence, but wonder, pure, unexpected wonder. It moves gently through me like early morning light, slipping through a curtain quiet, warm, unnoticed until it touches everything. And I realize how long it has been since I have allowed myself to be amazed. The weight of the past made me forget how to see. I got used to surviving, to pressing forward without lifting my eyes. But this morning, freed from what once held me, I feel the world opening again. Not because everything outside me has changed, but because something within me has been made soft enough to see it differently. The same sky looks brighter. The same breath feels sacred. The same world I moved through half awake now invites me to pause. Father, you are the creator of wonders, and yet I have grown too used to passing them by. The miracle of a heartbeat, the sound of leaves brushing in the breeze, the way the sun faithfully rises, even after the darkest night. These things were never small. I was just too tired, too guarded, too bound to notice. But now, I want to notice. I want to look again. I want to learn how to marvel. Let wonder return not as a childish distraction, but as a holy awakening. Let it remind me that you are not only a deliverer, but an artist. Not only my refuge, but my joy. You are not a God of only what is urgent, but of what is beautiful. You placed stars in the sky and texture in the bark of trees. You filled oceans with songs no human ears may ever hear. If you care for such things, surely you care for the wonder within me too. There was a time when I could feel you in everything, when the wind felt like a whisper of your presence, and the smell of rain brought tears to my eyes. Somewhere along the way, I lost that sensitivity. The world dulled my senses. Pain taught me to look only for threats. But this morning, I sense you inviting me to wonder again, to see through new eyes, to feel without fear. Let wonder be what fills the places fear used to live. Let awe take root where anxiety once ruled. Let my spirit become light again, not naive, but open. Let me look at a sunrise not with suspicion, but with gratitude. Let me smile at something small without explaining it away. Let me hold joy without waiting for it to disappear. You are not just the God who rescues. You are the God who dances over me with singing, who rejoices in the details, who delights in small beginnings. So why should I be afraid to do the same? Why should I silence joy when you are the one who invented it? Why should I guard myself against beauty when you have written it into every corner of creation? Father, I want to live wide-eyed again. I want to laugh without a reason. I want to cry because something is beautiful, not just because it hurts. I want to walk outside and be astonished by how much life is around me, not in some dramatic display, but in the quiet rhythms I forgot were sacred. There is a kind of healing that only comes through wonder, a restoration of innocence, not the absence of pain, but the presence of trust, the trust that this world, even in its brokenness, still reflects something of you, that there is goodness woven into it, waiting to be seen by those who slow down long enough to notice. So help me slow down. Help me resist the rush. Help me to live as someone who knows that time is not the enemy, and that silence is not empty. Help me to savor the things I once sped past. A single flower, a stranger's smile, the sound of laughter echoing down the street. These are not interruptions. They are invitations. Teach me to pray with my eyes open, to walk as though every step might lead to wonder, to speak as though every word carries life. Let me stop needing every moment to be useful and start welcoming moments that are simply beautiful. You are not just in my answers. You are in my awe. And awe is what I want to carry with me into this day. Let me become someone who cultivates wonder for others too. Someone who points out beauty in places others have overlooked. Someone who reminds tired hearts that the world is still full of light. That God is not only found in the serious things, but also in the joyful ones, in music and color, in story and silence, in kindness and laughter and peace. You are restoring my ability to see again, not just what is broken, but what is whole, not just what is missing, but what has always been present. You are teaching me that wonder is not a luxury for easier seasons. It is a necessity for surviving the hard ones. It anchors me to you in a world that often feels unmoored. So today, I will look again. I will breathe deeper. I will let my heart be moved even if I do not understand why. I will not apologize for being soft. I will not hide my joy. I will let wonder lead me back to you, moment by moment, step by step, because you are not only the God who breaks chains, you are the God who brings color back to gray places. And this morning, that color is returning. Father, the wonder is returning, and with it comes a quiet longing for something deeper, something steadier. In the beauty I am beginning to see again, I realize how restless I have been underneath. Even as I notice the colors and textures of the world more clearly, I still feel this inner ache, this longing for peace that does not come in flashes, but in slow, lasting waves. And so I come to you again, not to be rescued from the moment, but to be led patiently through it. Father, you know how deeply I crave peace, not just the absence of noise or conflict, but that deep exhale of the soul that whispers, I am safe, I am held, I am home. I have chased that kind of peace in many places, in control, in certainty, in answers that never fully arrived. But none of those paths have led me where I truly wanted to go. Only you can lead me there. Only you can teach me that peace is not instant. It is formed. It is learned. It is walked into slowly, one surrendered breath at a time. I do not need a dramatic rescue this morning. I need a companion who walks with me through the shadows. I need to know that peace is not something I must feel before I can move forward, but something that grows within me as I walk beside you, even when the world is still uncertain. Help me release my demand for instant calm. Help me embrace the gentle pace of trust. You are not in a hurry, and that challenges me. I want resolution, but you offer relationship. I want outcomes, but you offer presence. And maybe what I have called delay is really just an invitation to slow down, to walk with you, not ahead of you. Teach me that it is okay to not arrive quickly, that peace is not a place I land, but a person I lean into. Some days, my mind races far ahead. It imagines problems that have not come yet. It replays conversations, worries about outcomes, carries weights that were never mine. I get swept into the urgency of things that do not deserve that much power. But when I sit here with you in the quiet of this morning, I remember what is true. You are not hurried, you are not anxious, you are steady, and you are near, and that is where peace begins. Let this be the day I take small steps. Let it be the day I stop pressuring myself to feel better instantly, to fix everything I think is broken. Let it be the day I say no to frantic striving and yes to quiet trust. Let my pace match yours, not rushed, not delayed, just faithful. Let me walk through this day anchored in the truth that peace does not come from having all the answers. It comes from knowing I do not have to walk alone. I think of the way you calmed the storm, not by removing the sea entirely, by speaking into the middle of it. Peace. Be still. You still speak those words, even now, to the chaos inside me. And when I hear them, I do not need the storm to vanish. I just need to know you are in the boat with me, and you are. Father, help me to stop measuring my spiritual health by how calm I feel. Let me learn instead to measure it by how willing I am to stay with you in the discomfort, to keep showing up, to keep opening my hands, to keep walking slowly, without needing every step to make sense. Peace is not found in understanding everything. It is found in trusting someone greater than my understanding. Let your peace settle into the corners of my mind where anxiety has lived too long. Let it touch the places in my body where tension hides. Let it whisper into the parts of my story that still feel unfinished, that still carry questions I can yet answer. I do not need every loose end to be tied. I just need to believe that even in the unresolved, I am not unloved. If today brings quiet moments, let me welcome them. If it brings noise and chaos, let me carry calm within me. If the world pulls at my attention and threatens to scatter my thoughts, help me return to this stillness. Even if only for a breath, let peace become my default, not because life has become easy, but because I have learned to rest in you no matter what. You are the shepherd who leads me beside still waters, but sometimes those waters take time to find. Sometimes we walk through valleys first. Sometimes I hear your voice long before I feel the calm. But I will follow, step by step, believing that peace is not only ahead, it is forming in me now. Let peace not just be what I seek for myself. Let it be what I extend to others. Let me speak calmly in tense moments. Let me offer gentleness in a world that rewards harshness. Let me be someone whose presence makes room for others to breathe easier. Let the peace you give me become the peace I give away. Father, I am learning that peace is not a personality trait or a fleeting feeling. It is the fruit of abiding. It is the quiet result of staying close to you. The more I return to this space, the more I trust instead of resist. Breathe instead of brace, the more I feel it, not as a sudden wave, but as a steady rhythm beneath everything else. A rhythm that says, you are here and I am safe. So I will not rush this process. I will not force it. I will simply show up again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, until peace is no longer something I visit occasionally, but something I carry with me wherever I go. Father, peace has begun to find its rhythm in me. It is not always loud or lasting, but it shows up more now, soft and real. And in its quiet unfolding, I realize there is still something deeper you are inviting me into. Not just walking with you, not just trusting your pace, but something even more vulnerable. You are teaching me not only how to move with you, but how to stop and let myself be held. It is easier for me to keep going. Even if I slow down, I still want to be in motion. Still doing. Still proving. But you, Father, are asking me to do something that feels much harder than striving. You are asking me to rest, not just physically, but at the level of my soul, to surrender not only my burdens, but also the part of me that insists on carrying them, to stop reaching for control and instead reach for you. This morning, I do not want to pretend that being held is easy for me. It makes me feel small, exposed, unsure. I have spent so long trying to be strong, trying to stay ahead of pain, trying to look okay even when I was not. But you are not looking for performance. You are not asking for strength I do not have. You are offering arms wide enough to carry me through all I cannot fix. And slowly, I am learning to trust them. There is a kind of safety I have never known till now, the kind that does not require explanations, the kind that does not rush me through my emotions or minimize what I feel, the kind that says, you do not have to hold yourself together today, because I am holding you. And as strange as that feels, as foreign as it is to lean into care instead of pushing through it, I know it is where healing lives. I think of how often I try to qualify my pain. I convince myself it is not big enough to bring to you. I compare it to others and tell myself I should be able to handle it. But you never do that. You never shame me for my need. You never measure whether I've earned the right to be comforted. You just open your arms. And this morning, I want to say yes to them. Let me be the one who does not run from gentleness. Let me learn that being fragile is not a flaw, that being comforted is not weakness. Let me be the one who does not apologize for needing to be held. You are not just a rescuer. You are a father, a healer, a shelter, and I will never outgrow my need for that. Some mornings I wake up and everything inside me is already tired. I have not spoken a word, and yet my heart feels worn. There is no reason I can point to, no specific thing that caused it, but the weight is real, and you know it before I do. You see me before I speak. You move toward me without needing an invitation. And when I cannot move toward you, you meet me where I am. Help me stop resisting this kind of love. Help me stop bracing for abandonment. Expecting disappointment, assuming that I must earn rest before I am allowed to receive it. Your love does not need to be deserved. It simply needs to be accepted. And I am trying. Father, I am trying to trust that I can lean back and not fall, that I can stop striving and still be loved, that I can let go and still be held. Let being held become my new strength, not because I stop doing what matters, but because I stop carrying it alone, not because I escape my responsibilities, but because I live them out of a place of being filled, not drain. Let me parent from that place. Let me work from that place. Let me love others from that place. Not pouring from emptiness, but from the deep well of your care. You are not distant. You are not cold. You are the one who kneels beside the weary, who lifts the chin of the ashamed, who whispers peace into panic, who wraps the brokenhearted in presence so real it slows their breathing. You are not waiting for me to get over it. You are waiting for me to let you in. So I let you in, not with fanfare, not with big words, just with honesty. I am tired. I am tender. I am trying. And I need to know that I am not alone in this. I need to feel you near, not in theory, but in a way that touches my real life, in the quiet before the day begins, in the moments when anxiety creeps in the simple, sacred act of being still. Let this stillness not feel empty. Let it feel like arms. Let it become a place where I breathe deeper and stop holding everything so tightly. Let it become a place where I remember that being held is holy, that I was never created to carry it all alone, that faith is not only about moving mountains. Sometimes it is about being carried up the mountain when my legs can no longer climb. Father, remind me that you are not just beside me, but around me, beneath me, holding me. Remind me that I do not need to earn closeness. It is already mine. I do not need to prove my value. It has already been declared. I do not need to pretend I am fine. You are drawn to the places that are not fine. That is where you love to meet me most. I will stop fighting the need to be cared for. I will stop rushing past the tenderness you offer. I will pause here, in this sacred moment, and let myself be held. Because this, too, is prayer. This, too, is worship. This, too, is transformation not through effort, but through embrace. Father, being held by you has taught me something I never expected. When I finally stopped running and let myself rest in your arms, I realized how much pain I have been holding on to, not out of defiance, but out of fear. Fear that if I let go, I will lose part of who I am. Fear that if I stop protecting the wound, it will reopen wider. But this morning, in the quiet of your presence, I sense that it is time, not to forget, not to ignore, but to finally release what has been weighing me down for far too long. Father, you see the places in me that are still bruised. You know the stories I rarely tell, the betrayals I never fully processed, the shame that still lingers like dust in the corners of my soul. I have carried them for so long they began to feel familiar, like armor, like identity. But I can feel you gently nudging me now, reminding me that healing requires empty hands, that I cannot take hold of the freedom you offer while clinging to what broke me. Letting go is not as simple as forgetting. You know that. Letting go means choosing to stop reliving what I cannot change. It means loosening my grip on the past, even when it still aches. It means forgiving, sometimes again and again, even when no one says sorry. It means trusting that justice belongs to you, not to me, and that my wholeness is not dependent on someone else's regret. Some of the pain I carry is quiet. It hides in the way I speak to myself, in the standards I set so high. No one could ever reach them, not even me. Help me to release those silent hurts, the ones that shape my thoughts more than I realize, the moments when I was overlooked, the dreams that died quietly, the disappointments I minimized so they would not seem like failure. But you saw them all, and this morning, I bring them to you, not to be erased, but to be held and then released. Other wounds are loud. They speak often. They replay scenes I want to forget. They whisper that I am not enough, or that I will always be defined by what happened. But you are louder still. Father, you are the voice that speaks healing into memory. You are the one who says, I am not what was done to me. I am not my worst mistake. I am not the story someone else told about me. I am yours. So teach me how to let go, not all at once, maybe, but moment by moment, thought by thought, breath by breath. Show me how to live with open hands instead of clenched fists. How to walk forward without dragging the weight of what hurt me. Not because the pain was not real, but because you are more real still. Help me to forgive where bitterness has taken root. Help me to name the grief I buried. Help me to release the resentment I dressed up as strength. I want to be free. I want to live without flinching at every reminder, without building walls so high no one can get in, without punishing myself for things I could not control. You did not design me to live inside my wounds. You created me for restoration. Let today be a beginning. Let today be the day I stop letting old pain define new joy. Let it be the day I stop measuring my life by what I have lost and begin measuring it by what I am still becoming. You are not done with me, and as long as I keep holding on to the past, I will not be able to receive what is ahead. You are not asking me to pretend it did not hurt. You are asking me to trust that you are strong enough to carry what I can see. You are asking me to lay it down, not as denial, but as worship, as a declaration that I believe healing is more powerful than memory, that I believe your love can cover even this. I want to give you the parts of me that still ache, the parts that try to hide behind logic and performance, the places where I have told myself I have moved on, but the tension in my chest says otherwise. Help me to go there with you. Help me to trust that I am safe even in the raw places, that I can let it rise to the surface and not drown in it, that letting go is not the end, it is the first breath of something new. Some pain I have kept because I thought it protected me, but now I see it only keeps me alone. It builds a false shelter that locks out healing. So I open the doors now. Father, I let you into those rooms I have kept closed for too long, and I place the pain in your hands, not to be erased from memory, but to be reworked by mercy. If tears come again, let them soften the soil. If silence returns, let it be a resting place. If I feel lost in the release, remind me that you are still near, that letting go is not about forgetting it, is about freeing space for something better, for truth, for peace, for love that stays. Letting go may feel like breaking at first, but I know you use every fracture to rebuild something stronger. So I surrender this pain not because it never mattered, because it matters too much to carry it alone any longer. I am ready to stop surviving and start healing. I am ready to walk without the limp of what once was. Thank you for being patient, for waiting until I was ready, for never forcing, only inviting, for being the kind of father who stays even when I take the long way back. You never turned away from my pain. And now, I am finally ready to hand it to you. Father, there is a stillness here that I did not expect. After the trembling of letting go, after the ache of releasing what I held so long, there is now this quiet. Not silence, exactly, but something deeper, a holy hush, a pause that feels sacred. And Father, it is in this stillness that I am learning something new about you, not only as the one who heals, but as the one who remains after the storm. I thought surrender would leave me empty, but what I feel now is not emptiness. It is space, breathable, sacred space. I used to think surrender was about weakness, that it meant giving up or giving in. But what I am beginning to understand is that surrender is the moment trust becomes real. It is the quiet courage of saying, I cannot carry this, and believing you will not only take it but stay beside me once it is gone. And now that I have laid it all down, now that I have stopped bracing for pain or pretending I am fine, I find myself in this stillness, unsure of what comes next, and yet, somehow, not afraid. This stillness is not passive. It is not an absence of movement, but a presence of peace. A stillness that is not empty, but full of you, full of grace, full of mercy. I do not have to chase anymore. I am not performing for worth today. I am not fixing myself with urgency. I am not building a plan to prove that I am healed. I am just here, with you, and that is enough. Somehow, that is finally enough. Father, I know life will move again. The pace will pick up. Responsibilities will return. But I do not want to forget this stillness. I do not want to rush past it or treat it like a moment of pause between real things. Because maybe this is the real thing. Maybe this quiet where I am not striving, not hiding, not fighting. Maybe this is the truest place of all. Not because it is permanent, but because it reminds me that peace is not circumstantial. It is relational. It is being known and held and safe in you. I am not used to being still. My thoughts often spin even when my body is still. But this morning, I feel them settling, not because everything is solved, but because I am finally allowing space for you to be enough. And when I stop filling the silence with worry, with distraction, with constant motion, I realize you have been whispering all along. I just could not hear you over the noise I made trying to hold myself together. This stillness teaches me how to listen, not just for answers, but for presence, for the assurance that I am not alone, that you are not in a rush, that healing does not have to be hurried, that transformation often happens not in the striving, but in the still. And it is here, in this holy quiet, that I see how faithful you truly are. You did not just meet me in my surrender. You stayed, and you are staying still. Help me honor this stillness, Father, not as something to escape, but as something to lean into. Help me resist the urge to prove, to perform, to pick up what I have already placed in your hands. Let me sit a little longer in this moment, where your love is not a concept, but a calm. Let me breathe deeply into this peace that is not shallow or fleeting, but grounded and real. I do not want to mistake calm for complacency or quiet for absence. You are here, and that changes everything. Even as life pulls me into its rhythm again, let me carry this stillness within me. Let it be the place I return to, not a once-in-a-while escape, but a daily rhythm of grounding myself in you. When the noise returns, let me choose the whisper. When the chaos rises, remind me of this hush. When I am tempted to prove myself again, remind me that you already see me, already love me, already call me yours. And Father, in this stillness, I remember those around me who do not know this peace yet. Those who are still in the middle of their storm, still clinging tightly to what they cannot fix. Let my stillness become invitation. Let my calm become compassion. Let the peace you are growing in me spill over into how I speak, how I listen, how I walk beside others in their own unraveling. Let me not only rest here, but become a resting place for others. A voice that does not rush, a presence that does not push, a heart that does not judge the process, but honors it. Some mornings will not feel this quiet. I know that. Some days will be noisy before I even open my eyes. But even then, remind me of this chapter, of this morning, of this moment where I chose to believe that stillness is not absence, but your presence making space in me. I will not chase peace like it is scarce. I will carry it like it is mine, because you gave it, and you do not take back your gifts. So I let my shoulders drop. I unclench the tension I did not know I was holding. I stop rehearsing what I will say or do next. I just sit here with you, in this breath, in this space, in this gift of a morning that does not demand anything of me but attention. And I give it to you, freely, fully, with wonder. This stillness is not where healing ends, it is where it deepens, where it takes root, not in noise or effort, but in rest, in trust, in presence. And maybe that is the point. Not that I would always feel better, but that I would always know where to return. And right now, I return to you. There is something I feel this morning, something quiet but steady, rising in the stillness you left behind. As if, now that I have stopped moving, something is beginning to move in me, and what I sense is not loud or obvious. It does not shout, nor demand attention. It is soft, but it is not weak. It is grace. And Father, it is yours. You always meet me like this when I am not performing, when I have nothing to prove, when I no longer try to earn what cannot be earned. After the surrender and the silence, what greets me here is not judgment, but your kindness. Not shame, but shelter. Not a list of what I should have done better, but a hand reaching out, saying, "Come closer." And so I do. I draw near, because your grace is not a whisper of forgiveness lost in the wind. It is a river that carries me when I am too tired to walk. Father, I used to think grace was something fragile, something I had to protect. But I see now it is the other way around. Grace is what protects me. It is what holds when I fall apart. It is what softens the edges of my pain without erasing it. It does not erase my past, but it redefines it. And in that redefining, I see how gently you have walked beside me, even when I thought you were far away. Grace does not excuse the broken parts of me. It does not cover them with empty words. It sees them, names them, and then stays anyway. Grace sits with me while I heal, not expecting me to hurry. It waits when I backslide. It whispers hope into my fears. It does not rescue me from every consequence, but it never lets those consequences become the final word. And that, more than any miracle I used to crave, is the real strength I need. You, Father, are not harsh with my humanity. You do not flinch at my confusion. You do not turn away when I get it wrong again. Your grace is patient. It is strong enough to hold space for my becoming. It does not force me to rush toward wholeness, but walks with me as I learn to believe I am already loved, even before I feel healed. You do not just offer grace as a one-time gift. You are grace. Every breath you give is wrapped in it. This gentle strength, the kind that never bruises, never manipulates, never shames, has become the safest place I know. I used to be afraid that if I trusted your grace too much, I would become complacent, that I would stop growing. But now I realize it is the opposite. Grace is not the absence of growth. It is the soil where growth begins, and the deeper it soaks in, the more I want to grow, not to be accepted, but because I already am. Father, your grace does not erase my limits. It teaches me how to live within them without guilt. It tells me I do not have to carry everything, that I can rest, that being finite is not failure, it is invitation. An invitation to lean on you, to need others, to let go of the illusion that I have to be everything to everyone. And somehow, when I do that, I find more of myself than I ever did while striving. There is power in this softness. Power in knowing I am not held together by my strength, but by yours. Not a strength that crushes or controls, but one that lifts and restores. When I fall short, grace catches me. When I doubt, grace reminds me. When I run away, grace keeps the door open. It is not a reward for my effort. It is a companion through my weakness. And that changes everything. This morning, I breathe deeply into that truth. I let it settle into places where shame used to live. I let it rewrite the stories I tell myself. I let it undo the old belief that I am only lovable when I am doing well. Your grace tells me otherwise. It tells me I am loved here, now, in this unfinished state. And that makes me brave, brave enough to stay, brave enough to hope again. Father, let me carry this gentle strength with me today. Let it be the tone in my voice, the softness in my eyes, the slowness in how I respond, the quiet courage in how I forgive. Let grace not only shape how I receive your love, but how I give it to others. There are people around me, I know, who do not believe they are worthy, who walk in shame and exhaustion. Let my presence whisper something different. Let it say, you can rest. You are loved. You are not alone. Help me remember that grace is not passivity, it is power wrapped in kindness. It does not tolerate harm, but it transforms hurt. It does not avoid the truth, but it holds it with compassion. And when I embody grace, I am most like you not because I have all the answers, but because I reflect your heart. I do not want to rush past this. I do not want grace to be a concept I admire from afar. I want it to live in my breath, in my rhythm, in my thoughts when I wake and when I sleep. Let it be the filter through which I see myself, see others, and see you. Let it shape the way I carry both my pain and my joy. Let it steady me when I wobble. Let it soften me when I grow hard. Let it remind me that nothing true and holy can grow in soil of fear, but only in the rich ground of mercy. Today, I will make mistakes. I will be human, but grace will meet me there. It will find me in every failed attempt and whispered prayer. It will fill the gaps between what I meant and what I said. It will bridge the distance between who I am and who I am becoming. And in that space, you will be there. Not disappointed, not impatient, but faithful. Always faithful. So I rise again, not with pressure but with peace. Not to prove anything, but to live freely, fully, gently, because you are here and your grace is enough. Father, there is something sacred in what you have begun as I sit with the quiet strength of your grace still wrapped around me. I sense that you are not finished. The tenderness that held me yesterday has cleared today for something new to rise. Not quickly, not with fanfare, with purpose, because grace does not just comfort. It restores. It rebuilds. And now, Father, I feel you leading me into that slow, holy work of being rebuilt from the inside out. You know every place inside me that has cracked under pressure. You have seen the parts that collapsed under weight I was not meant to carry. You were there when my confidence splintered, when my hope fractured, when the scaffolding I had built to hold myself up came crashing down. And yet, you did not turn away from the rubble. You entered it. You stepped into my brokenness, not as a critic, but as a healer. And instead of offering quick fixes or cheap reassurances, you knelt beside the ruins and began something deeper. You start small, always, never rushing. You take the time to clear what cannot remain, but you do so gently, never ripping away what I am not yet ready to release. You know how fragile I can feel when foundations are shifting. So you steady me not with answers, but with presence. You remind me that rebuilding is not about going back to who I was, but becoming who I was always meant to be. Father, there is a difference between restoring and replacing, and you do not discard me. You redeem me. You take what I thought was wasted and show me how it becomes part of the new structure. Nothing is thrown away in your hands. Even the ashes carry purpose. Even the empty spaces are invitations. And I am learning to trust that every moment I have called a loss might one day be named as the beginning of something deeper. There are pieces of me I used to hide, believing they were too jagged to be loved. But you are not afraid of rough edges. You shape them, not by force, but with patience, not by demand, but by delight. I can feel you chiseling away the false things I have clung to: perfectionism, comparison, fear of not being enough. You chip at these carefully, not to hurt me, but to set me free. And with each layer you remove, I find something truer beneath. Not polished, not finished, but honest, real, whole in ways I never understood before. This process is not glamorous. Some days I feel like I am making no progress at all. But you remind me that healing is not a straight line. It is a spiral that keeps returning, deeper each time, until the truth becomes more than an idea. It becomes who I am. Rebuilding with you does not always look like strength. Sometimes it looks like rest, like letting go of control, like learning how to ask for help without shame. Sometimes it means grieving what was, before I can welcome what will be. You let me move through it all without rushing me through any of it. You teach me that wholeness is not about arriving. It is about allowing, about staying open, about not closing the door on the very parts of me you want to transform. Father, I have tried to rebuild on my own before. I have gathered pieces that did not fit and forced them into place. I have built walls instead of windows, platforms instead of foundations. And when it all came undone, I blamed myself. But now I see that what fell was not meant to last. And what you are building in its place will not collapse, because it is not built on fear. It is anchored in love. This time, I want to build with you, not in a rush, not to impress, but to become, brick by brick, moment by moment. From the inside out, let each act of kindness be a beam. Let every surrender be a nail. Let my honesty be the cement. Let truth be the frame. And let your presence be the cornerstone that holds it all together when storms come again, because they will. But I won't be afraid. Not anymore. Even now, As I breathe in this still morning, I know you are working in places I cannot see, healing what I have not found words for, strengthening what was once fragile. You are not only putting things back together, you are forming something entirely new, something that looks like grace, sounds like peace, and stands tall in quiet resilience. I no longer want to return to what was. I want to go forward into what could be. And I want to bring all of me, the tender parts, the learning parts, the unsure parts, because you do not require perfection. You invite participation. You are the master builder who does not demand I finish myself before coming to you. Instead, you welcome me into the process, and you stay with me through every stage, not disappointed when I falter, not impatient when I am slow, just faithful. And because you are faithful, I can be honest. I can say that some days this rebuilding feels like wandering, like stumbling through fog, unsure of direction. But even then, I find myself tethered by your voice, a whisper of reassurance that I am not lost, that I am becoming, that even in silence, the foundation is forming. So help me notice the small rebuildings today. The moment I choose peace instead of proving, the breath I take before reacting, the pause that creates space for grace. These are not minor, they are sacred. They are evidence that the new structure is taking shape not above ground, but deep within. And in that quiet construction site of my soul, may I trust the process. May I not measure progress by what others can see, but by the gentleness growing inside me, the peace that steadies me, the hope that returns even after hard days, the love that no longer demands perfection, but simply shows up again and again, even when it is hard. Thank you for being a father who rebuilds gently, who knows the strength it takes to heal, and who walks each slow step beside me. You do not shame my slowness. You bless it. You do not measure me by what I have accomplished. You see who I am becoming, and in that gaze, I find the courage to continue. Today, I will build not from performance, but from presence, not from pressure, but from peace. I will take one step, lay one brick, choose one kind word, offer one act of softness, and I will let that be enough, because in the end, it is not the speed of the rebuild that matters. It is the direction, and with you, Father, I know I am rebuilding in the right direction. It is in the aftermath of rebuilding that I begin to notice what I once rushed past, the stillness, not the hollow kind that echoes with fear or uncertainty, but the kind that settles quietly after the heavy lifting, the kind that follows deep surrender. And Father, as I lean into this morning, I realize how much I have needed this stillness, not as an ending, but as a sacred continuation of what you have been forming in me. Yesterday, I placed brick upon brick. I showed up to the gentle work of becoming. But today, I sense you asking for something even more tender. Not action, but presence. Not progress, but pause. You are not always in the movement. Sometimes you wait for me in the still places, and here I am, learning how to meet you there. I once thought surrender was loud, dramatic, a single moment of letting go. But now I see that it is quieter than that. It is not just an act. It is a posture, a willingness to unclench my fists and release what I never truly controlled. And as I surrender, truly surrender, there is a silence that follows, not empty, but full, not passive, but deeply alive. You are in this silence, Father, not speaking, but present, not distant, but near in a way words could never capture. This stillness is where the echo of trust lingers, where faith is not measured by outcomes, but by rest. It is where I stop explaining and start listening, where I let go of needing to be understood and begin to understand myself through your eyes. There is no striving here, no earning, only being, only breathing, only trusting that the surrender was enough. Father, I bring to this quiet space the parts of me that still ache, not for resolution, but for recognition. You see me, not just what I do, but who I am beneath it all, and you stay. You do not ask me to hurry through this moment. You do not demand that I fill the silence with answers. You sit with me, allowing the quiet to do its slow, necessary work. There is something holy about this space between what was and what will be. This in-between where nothing seems certain, and yet everything feels held. It is where you have always done your best work, in wombs, in tomes, in caves and deserts and gardens. And now, in me, this stillness is not a void. It is a womb for what is next, a shelter for what is growing unseen. And I do not want to rush past it just because it feels unfamiliar. I am learning that surrender is not about giving up. It is about giving over, placing into your hands what I can fix, what I can carry, what I can figure out. And when I do, something inside settles, not because the situation changes, but because I change within it. The war between striving and resting finally quiets. The need to control loosens its grip, and in that release, I find peace I did not even know I needed. Father, it is strange how stillness can be the most difficult part of the journey. To do nothing, to fix nothing, to simply trust. And yet, it is in this stillness that I feel most safe, because I am not the one holding everything together. You are. I do not have to hold my breath, waiting for the next thing to go wrong. I can exhale. I can lean back. I can believe that even in the absence of movement, you are fully present. In this stillness, I notice things I once overlooked: the quiet beat of my heart, the rhythm of breath, the soft light slowly stretching across the room. These are not small things. They are holy reminders that life continues even when I pause, that nothing depends solely on my effort, that grace is still working when I am not, and that surrender is not the end of the story. It is the soil in which new beginnings are rooted. So I will not fear the silence. I will not resist the pause. I will not measure today by its productivity, but by its presence. I will let the stillness teach me. I will let it stretch me. I will let it soften the parts of me that still carry urgency and anxiety. I will rest in the truth that I am not behind. I am exactly where I need to be, because I am with you. Father, if today is quiet, let it be enough. If today is slow, let it be sacred. If today brings no answers, let me stay curious. Let me lean into the not knowing, the not doing, the not fixing, and trust that you are still working in the unseen places. Let this stillness be my sanctuary, a place not of waiting for something to happen, but of witnessing what already is. There is peace here, not the peace of everything being resolved, but the peace of no longer needing resolution to feel grounded. This peace is not shallow. It does not depend on circumstances. It runs deep, like a river beneath the surface, steady and sure. It is your peace, Father, the kind that does not make sense, but holds everything together when nothing else can. I used to fear these in-between places, but now I see them as sacred thresholds, spaces where transformation brews quietly, where you prepare me for what is next, not with noise, but with nearness. And though I do not know what tomorrow holds, I know who holds me in this moment. That is enough, more than enough. So I offer today not as a performance, but as a prayer, not as a list of goals, but as an open page. I do not need to fill it. I only need to show up, to breathe, to notice, to remain. Let the stillness be the offering. Let my presence be the response. Let my surrender be the sacred yes to whatever you are shaping within me. And in this stillness, may I remember that I am not alone. Others are here too, quietly rebuilding, slowly becoming, gently surrendering what no longer serves. May I hold them in prayer even as I rest in silence. May we become a quiet chorus of trust, each life a soft song rising in the stillness, declaring that even in the quiet, even in the pause, even in the mystery, love is here. Father, I come to you this morning with a heart that is learning to be still. And yet, in the silence that surrounds me, I now encounter something deeper, the ache of absence. And yet, even in this H, I call you Father, because I believe you are still here. Even when I cannot hear you, even when the sky seems mute and the stillness no longer feels like sanctuary, but like distance. What a strange place this is, the quiet after surrender, now echoing with a new kind of longing. Yesterday I embraced the stillness. I rested in the hush between movements. But today, the silence feels different. Heavy, thick, as if your voice has gone into hiding, and I am left whispering into what feels like empty air. And yet I still whisper, because something in me refuses to believe that you have gone. I know you too well. I have seen too much. Even in this muted space, I believe you are not far. Father, why is it that when I need you to speak the most, it feels like you go quiet? Why is it that the moments of deepest hunger are met with echoes instead of answers? I do not ask to accuse you. I ask because I miss you. I ask because I am still reaching. I ask because even the silence is not enough to stop my soul from leaning in. Perhaps your silence is not rejection. Perhaps it is not distance. Perhaps it is invitation. Maybe you are not silent because you are absent, but because you are drawing something deeper out of me. Maybe you are letting my desire grow into something more enduring than convenience or comfort, into something that resembles love. Love that stays, even when it is not met with response. Love that believes, even when it does not feel. Love that listens, even when there is nothing to hear. And still, Father, I once pretend it is easy. I miss your whisper. I miss the clarity. I miss the warmth of your nearness. I miss the comfort of your words wrapping around my fears and guiding me through the fog. But I will not let silence rewrite what I know of your heart. You are good, even here. Especially here, even in the quiet, I am still yours. This silence is not the enemy. It is the soil where trust grows slowly, stubbornly, with roots deeper than emotion. If I only believed when I felt you, then my faith would be built on shifting ground. But here, in this holy hush, I am learning to believe not because of sensation, but because of conviction. Because I remember who you have been. Because I remember what you have done. Because I believe you are still the same even now. I look back and see the ways you have carried me. I remember moments that once felt abandoned, only to discover later that they were the very spaces where you held me most tenderly. And so, perhaps this silence is not absence, but a new way of being close, a quieter kind of nearness, a deeper kind of presence, one that does not need to speak to be real. Maybe you are teaching me to listen with more than ears, to hear with my heart, to trust what cannot be explained, to keep showing up, not because I expect a dramatic answer, but because I know you are worthy of pursuit, even when you whisper nothing at all. Father, I will not run from this silence. I will not numb it or fill it or rush through it. I will sit with it. I will honor it. I will let it stretch me into someone who waits well, who believes through the quiet, who loves without conditions, who stays. In this silence, I offer you my honesty, the part of me that feels forgotten, the questions I am afraid to say aloud, the grief I cannot name, the hope that flickers, but does not go out. I give it all to you, not because I need a response, but because I need to be real with you. And I believe you are big enough to hold even my silence, even my doubt, even my wondering. Teach me to worship without words. Teach me to trust without signs. Teach me to be still without proof. Let this silence become the fire that refines my faith. Let it deepen my devotion, not because you answer, but because I have chosen to stay with you regardless. This silence is shaping me, not in ways I would have chosen, but in ways I desperately need. It is burning away my need to control, my craving for immediate resolution, my addiction to clarity. It is making room for a quieter, stronger faith, a faith not built on experiences alone, but on enduring love. Father, help me not confuse your silence with your absence. Help me not to interpret this season as punishment or distance. Help me to see that you are still at work, even when I do not perceive it. You are not hiding. You are holding. You are not far. You are forming. And though my ears may not hear you, my soul still knows you are near. Let me be faithful here. Let me rise this morning not with fanfare, but with quiet resolve. Let me walk through this day carrying not clarity, but courage. The kind of courage that keeps praying, keeps loving, keeps hoping, even when it hears nothing in return. May this silence become a sanctuary, not a sentence. May it become a whum, not a tum. May it birth something holy in me that could not be born through noise or certainty. Let it soften my edges. Let it deepen my roots. Let it widen my heart for others who also walk through quiet seasons. Wondering if you see them, remind me that I am not alone in this ash, that others wait too, that we are a fellowship of those who listen in the dark, hoping for dawn. And maybe that is what this silence is, an invitation to hope. Not the kind of hope that demands immediate answers, but the kind that believes morning is coming, even when the night feels endless. The kind that keeps lighting candles in the dark, believing that even one flicker matters. Father, this silence is not what I asked for. Perhaps it is what I need. I trust you enough to stay, to breathe here, to learn here, to worship here. Not because you speak, but because you are. And in this quiet, I will wait, not with fear, but with faith, not with anxiety, but with assurance, not with desperation, but with devotion. For you are worth waiting for, even in the silence, especially in the silence. Father, you were silent yesterday. At least, that is how it felt, and in that silence, I found myself reaching not for answers, but for memory. So here I am again this morning, with breath in my lungs and the ache of yesterday still clinging softly to the edges of my soul. I call you Father, because even when you are quiet, my heart still knows who you are. And as I rise from the quiet that once unsettled me, I find myself turning toward something steady, something old, something true remembrance. There is power in remembering, in the returning of my thoughts to what is already known, in the dusting off of moments once buried beneath the weight of today's uncertainty. When I cannot feel you, I can remember you. When I cannot hear you, I can recall what you have already said. My faith is not only built on what lies ahead, but also on what has already been done. And Father, you have done much. You were there in moments I nearly forgot. You showed up through strangers, through songs, through sudden peace in the middle of chaos. You whispered truth in places where I believed lies. You met me in rooms where I thought I was alone. You held me together when everything else fell apart. These memories are not just comfort. They are anchors. They are evidence. They are reminders that silence does not mean absence, and waiting does not mean abandonment. You are the God who has carried me, the God who has stayed, the God who, even when hidden, is never gone. Sometimes I forget, not because I do not care, but because life grows loud and loss grows heavy. I forget that you have parted seas, stilled storms, and whispered peace over my fear-filled nights. I forget that I have been here before, uncertain, tired, aching, and yet, somehow, I made it through, not by my strength, but by yours. So this morning, I choose to remember, not passively, not vaguely, but deliberately. I walk through the rooms of my own story and trace your fingerprints. I recall the prayers I once whispered, the ones I thought fell into void, only to see them answered in ways I never expected. I remember how you walked with me, even when I ran. I remember how you waited, never once withdrawing love. Father, help me to become a person of remembrance. Let me not live only by sight, only by what I feel or fail to feel. Let me be one who gathers the stones, like those ancient travelers did, stacking reminders of where you met them, so future days would not erase the miracle. Let my life be lined with these markers of grace, testimonies not only of deliverance, but of endurance, of your patience, of your faithful hand that never lets go. Teach me to return to what is already known when the unknown presses in. Let my memory become a sanctuary. Let it be a holy place where I meet you again, not as someone who used to show up, but as the same faithful Father who never left, even when the path ahead is dim. The path behind me glows with your light. And it is not just my story, is it? It is your story woven through generations. You have been the God of Abraham, of Moses, of David. You have been the voice in the fire and the stillness after the storm. You were there in gardens and deserts, in prisons and palaces. You are not new at this. You are not unfamiliar with silence or suffering or longing. And if you were faithful then, you are faithful now. When my heart feels fragile, memory becomes my strength. When my courage falters, remembrance steadies my step. Not because I know what will happen next, but because I know who you have already been. And that is enough. You have shown yourself to be kind, patient, just, and near. These are not distant traits. They are lived realities. I have experienced them. They are part of me now. Father, even if the answers never come, even if the road remains winding and unseen, help me to root myself in the truth of what has already been. Let remembrance become resistance against fear, against despair, against the lie that says, I have been forgotten. Let it be the fire that warms me when hope grows cold. You are not only the God of the present moment. You are the God of all my moments, the ones I remember with joy, and the ones I barely survived. And each of those moments now becomes a stone I stack, a story I carry, a reason I keep walking. Today, I pause to honor what you have done, to acknowledge the ways you have been faithful even when I did not understand. I do not want to live forgetfully. I do not want to rush past the beauty of what has already been just because I crave something new. I want to linger with you in the holy weight of memory. I want to sit with gratitude until it reorients my soul. And more than that, I want to pass it on, to speak these stories aloud, not just to myself but to others. Because remembering is not only personal, it is communal. There is power when we remind one another that we have seen God move, that we have known His comfort, that we have survived because He was with us. Let my life become a living reminder for someone else. Let my stories be windows through which others see you too. Father, I do not ask you to erase the silence. I ask you to fill it with memory, with glimpses of the past that lead me back to truth. Let remembering become the song I sing while I wait. Let it be the prayer that keeps my heart soft and open. Let it shape my day-to-day not in nostalgia, but in renewed confidence. Because when I remember, I no longer feel lost. I feel grounded, rooted, held. I carry those memories like sacred seeds. Small, perhaps, but full of life, waiting to sprout again at the right time. And when they do, I will not be surprised, because I have seen you work before, and I believe you are not finished. So I walk into this day not with empty hands, but with a heart full of remembrance, full of stories that shout of your kindness, full of proof that you have never left me, not once, full of faith that what you have done before, you can do again even greater. Let me keep remembering. Father, let me never forget. Let me live like someone who knows where I have come from and whose hand has brought me all this way. Father, even as the morning air brushes against my skin, I feel the quiet residue of yesterday's reflections lingering in my chest. I called on memory then not out of sentiment, but necessity. And this morning, I call on it again, because remembering is not a single act. It is a practice, a rhythm, one that keeps my soul aligned when the winds of life blow uncertain. And Father, in remembering you, I remember who I am. It amazes me how often I forget that truth, how quickly I lose sight of where I have come from, of what you have already carried me through. I forget not just the facts, but the feeling, the peace you brought me in anxious seasons, the calm you whispered when my thoughts spun out of control, the way you surrounded me with unexpected strength when my own was gone. These moments are not just in the past. They are part of me. They shape how I stand today. And yet, I see how easy it is to let them slip, to let the noise of now drown out the stillness of then. That is why I need more than memory. I need intention, a deliberate choosing to recall, not to live in the past, but to allow the past to steady my present. So today, I return again. I pause. I reflect. I gather fragments of grace, scattered through the timeline of my life, and I lay them before you like an offering. Father, help me to see the past not as something to escape or edit, but as something sacred. Even the parts I wish were different, even the seasons marked by pain, because woven into every hardship was a lesson, a redirection, a seed of resilience that you planted deep within. You never wasted my tears. You never stood idly by as I struggled. You were there, perhaps hidden, perhaps quiet, but never absent. When I was young and afraid, you were the steadying voice. When I was lost in ambition, you were the quiet pull back to truth. When I was broken in grief, you sat beside me in the dust. When I had nothing to offer, you looked at me as if I had everything. These memories, these truths, they are not nostalgic poetry. They are lifelines. And I hold on to them now like sacred rope, tying me back to something firm and real. But remembering is not only for comfort. It is for courage. It is the fire that pushes me forward when the next step is fogged in doubt. I look back not to retreat, but to rise. Because if you were faithful in those moments when I did not think I would make it, then I have every reason to believe you will be faithful now. I do not need to know exactly how. I just need to remember who, and it is not just my personal memories. Father, there is a greater remembering, a sacred history that stretches far beyond my own timeline. I think of those before me, those who trusted you in deserts, in prisons, in exile, in unknown lands. They too remembered. They told stories. They wrote songs. They passed down truth. Not because they were naive, but because they had seen too much not to believe. Let me be like them. Let my memory become song, become story, become declaration, not in public performance, but in the quiet rituals of daily life, in the way I speak, in the way I hope, in the way I refuse to give in to despair even when it seems easier. Let remembrance shape my posture, shoulders lifted, head held steady, not in arrogance, in assurance. I know the one who has brought me this far. Father, sometimes I wonder what I will remember from this season, this very day. Perhaps it won't be the loud events or visible changes. Perhaps it will be the subtle grace, the moment you calmed my fears with a single breath, the sudden awareness that I was not alone, the quiet nudge that turned me from distraction to devotion. These little things, they are what stay with me, and they build something within I cannot yet explain. You are the God of details, the God of quiet interjections, of gentle redirections, of unseen protections. And when I pause long enough to look back, I can see you even in the seemingly insignificant. You are in the timing of a conversation, the delay that protected me, the longing that led me back to you. I have forgotten too many of these moments, but I want to forget no more. So, Father, I ask for the grace to remember, not just the mountaintop miracles, but the daily mercies, the breath I just took, the sunrise I almost missed, the way my heart still beats, even after all it has endured. These are miracles too, and remembering them reshapes how I see everything else. Even in my relationships, I see the fruit of your faithfulness. Conversations once impossible, now softened by grace. Forgiveness once unthinkable, now growing like springtime bloom. You have not only walked with me, you have walked between us, healing what I thought was unhealable. I must not forget this. I cannot forget this, because these moments, though quiet, are signs that you are always restoring, always renewing, always present. Let this practice of remembering not end here. Let it follow me into the rest of my day. Let me carry it into the way I treat others, into the way I listen, into the way I wait. Let my memory of you translate into mercy toward others. Because if you have been so gracious with me, how can I not offer the same? Help me to become a steward of sacred memory. Let me gather these stories like seeds, to plant in the hearts of those around me, to remind the weary that they too have known goodness, that even now, goodness is chasing them. Let my voice become a mirror, reflecting back to others the faithfulness they may have forgotten, and in doing so, let us remember together, we live in a world that encourages forgetfulness. We scroll, we skim, we move on, but I want to remain. I want to sit with truth long enough that it reshapes my instincts. I want to let remembrance become not just what I do, but who I am, a person shaped by memory, anchored in history, and held by a faithful God. And as the sun rises higher, as the day begins to stretch wide, I take these memories with me. I carry them not as baggage, but as blessing. They are the evidence of grace. They are the fragrance of past mercies that still linger in the present. They are the reason I can keep walking, not blindly, but boldly. You have not brought me this far just to leave me. You have not carved this path only to watch me stumble alone. I believe that what you have done before, you will do again. Not identically, but intimately tailored to this moment, this need, this season. And when you do, I will add that story to the others. I will remember it. I will speak of it. I will let it feed my soul. Father, I do not ask for a sign today. I ask for sight, the kind that sees what already is, what already was. Let memory become my lens. Let it correct the blur of fear, the distortion of doubt. Let it clarify my perspective until gratitude rises again like breath. I do not need more to believe. I only need to remember rightly. And when I do, I see you, not as a distant hope, but as the very heartbeat of my story. You are here. You have always been. And so I will walk forward not in naivety, not in denial, but in remembrance. I will carry the weight of history with me, not as a burden, but as a witness. And with each step, I will echo the quiet, steady truth that has never changed. You are faithful, Father. Even as I breathe in the stillness of this morning, I carry with me the quiet weight of yesterday's reflection. I remembered, and in the remembering, I was anchored. But now, Father, I sense you gently leading me into something deeper, not only to hold on to what is true, but to release what continues to wound, to let go of what hurts. And so I come to you, not with answers, but with open hands and a trembling heart. Letting go sounds beautiful until it becomes personal. It is easy to speak of surrender, but much harder to offer up the H that has shaped my story. The grief I have carried for so long it has grown roots. The disappointments that silently hardened my expectations. The betrayals that left invisible scars. These wounds, though painful, have become strangely familiar, almost comforting in their predictability. And yet, I know you never asked me to make a home in pain. You asked me to bring it to you, so here I am. Father, no longer trying to fix or hide what hurts, just bringing it into the light. Because you are not afraid of my pain. You do not turn away from the mess. You do not flinch at my honesty. You meet me right where it stings the most. And you do not come with condemnation, but with compassion. You do not demand that I pretend. You simply ask that I trust. And yet trust is hard when the pain is deep. I still remember the moments I tried to move on before I was ready. When I forced healing, skipped steps, smiled too soon. But healing is not about speed. It is about truth. It is about allowing myself to feel what I tried to numb, to name what I tried to dismiss, to let you hold what I can no longer carry on my own. Father, Some of the things I need to release are not just memories, they are identities I have wrapped around myself. The shame I have worn like a second skin. The unworthiness I have mistaken for humility. The fear I have dressed up as caution. These wounds did not just hurt me. They began to define me, and I confess, letting them go feels like losing part of who I am. But I know that what I lose in pain, I gain in peace. So teach me how to release not just the moment of hurt, but the meaning I have assigned to it. Help me to stop interpreting every setback as a personal failure, every silence as rejection, every delay as punishment. You are not cruel, and life is not a courtroom. You are a father, and I am your beloved. That truth must reshape everything. There are people I need to forgive, not because they deserve it, but because I do. Not to excuse what they did, but to free my heart from the grip of bitterness. I have waited for apologies that may never come, held onto stories that only replay my pain. But today, I choose something braver. I choose to forgive not as a one-time act, but as a daily offering. I will not let resentment be the lens through which I see the world. And there are things I need to grieve, losses I never fully faced, dreams that did not unfold the way I hoped, relationships that faded without closure, parts of my life that feel like unfinished songs. I want to honor them, Father, but I do not want to stay stuck in them. Grief is not my destination. It is a passageway. And I walk through it now with you by my side. I sense you inviting me into a deeper kind of freedom, not the loud, triumphant kind, but the quiet strength that comes from release. To set down the heavy narratives I have carried, to stop rehearsing the old pain and start receiving new peace. To believe that I do not have to carry it all in order to prove I survived. My survival is evident in my breath, in my presence, in my persistence to pray. Help me, Father, to release the internal conversations that keep me locked in cycles of self-blame, the what-ifs that haunt my past, the should-haves that echo in the silence. These regrets have become shackles, and I long to be free. I know you are not asking me to forget, but to be free from the sting that keeps me from stepping into what is next. Even my body remembers what my mind tries to forget: the tight chest, the tired eyes, the restless sleep. Pain has lived in my muscles, not just my memory. And so I ask for healing in every part of me. Not just the visible, but the invisible. Not just the public, but the private. Let your presence seep into the very places I have ignored, the hidden corners of hurt I never gave you access to. You are gentle, Father. You never rip away what I am not ready to release. You wait. You invite. You stay, and in that safety, I begin to loosen my grip, not all at once, but slowly, tenderly, honestly. And as I release, I start to see what was beneath the pain all along: hope, not the kind that denies the hurt, but the kind that coexists with it and still believes. Letting go is not forgetting. It is not erasing. It is remembering with grace instead of grief. It is choosing to see the pain as part of the path, not the whole story. It is believing that even the wounds can become windows, openings through which light gets in. and through which light can shine out. So I ask for the courage to be soft again, to let go of the armor I built to survive, to stop measuring strength by how well I pretend. Real strength is not stoicism, it is surrender. It is vulnerability wrapped in trust. It is opening my hands not just to release, but to receive. Father, let me receive peace in the place of pain, joy in the place of sorrow, clarity in the place of confusion. Not because I have earned it, but because you delight in giving it. Let me receive new perspective where I once saw only patterns. Let me receive the permission to grow beyond what once defined me. And as I go about this day, help me to walk lightly, to not carry the old weight into new spaces. Let my conversations be filled with grace, not guardedness. Let my silence be rooted in peace, not suppression. Let my yes and no come from alignment, not fear. And when the old pain resurfaces, as it sometimes will, let me return to this moment, this prayer, and remember that I have already begun the process of release. Let my healing be slow if it needs to be, but let it be real. Let it reach the roots, not just the surface. Let it touch my identity, not just my emotions. Let it become part of my posture, the way I stand, the way I speak, the way I see others. I want to become someone who walks unburdened, someone who loves without fear of loss, someone who remembers without reliving, someone who forgives without needing applause, someone who carries scars, not as shame, but as sacred proof that grace is greater. So I place every wound, every ache, every tightly held sorrow into your hands. I will not rush the process. I will not judge my pace. I will only return, day by day, to this sacred invitation, to let go of what hurts, so I can hold what heals. And maybe, Father, that is the miracle I need most today, not a dramatic change in circumstance, but a quiet shift in soul. The kind that opens windows I thought were sealed, the kind that lets in a breeze of freedom I had long forgotten, the kind that turns mourning into movement and pain into prayer. You have brought me back here again, back to this quiet place where the H begins to breathe, where the wounds no longer hide beneath business or pretense. Father, you heard me yesterday when I finally spoke the truth, when I admitted the griefs I carried like shadowed stones in my chest, when I named the pain not to accuse, but to release. And now, as I continue with you, I realize this work of letting go is not a moment, but a rhythm, not an event, but a surrender I return to again and again. And so I am still here, Father, still offering you what I do not fully understand, still loosening my grip on hurts I thought I had already given away. I suppose this is how healing happens, not with finality, but in layers, a peeling back, gently, of what once protected me but now restricts me. I am discovering that even my pain has a memory, a rhythm it learned long ago. And each time I let go, a little more of that rhythm breaks open to make room for peace. You see, Father, there are stories I keep replaying not because I want to stay there, but because some part of me still seeks to rewrite the ending. I still imagine how things could be gone differently, how I might have responded better, protected myself sooner, loved more wisely. But regret is a trap dressed up as reflection. It promises insight, but delivers shame. And I am learning that wisdom does not grow from self-punishment, but from grace. Grace teaches me to say, "That was painful, and I am still worthy." Grace whispers, "You did not deserve it, and you are not defined by it." Grace does not ask me to forget, but to forgive myself for not knowing then what I know now. And this is the release I need today, not just letting go of what others did, but letting go of how I have held myself hostage in the aftermath. Father, I am learning to trust you even in the unraveling. The tearing down of walls I once built for protection, but now realize have become cages. I know there are still places inside me where pain has written its own narrative, where I believe I am too much or not enough, where I flinch at closeness or expect disappointment before joy even arrives. I want to hand you those pages, too. Rewrite them with truth, not just facts, but the kind of truth that heals identity, not just emotion. There is a tenderness required in this letting go, a willingness to feel what why once numbed. I used to think numbness was strength, that if I could press through, perform well, smile convincingly, I would be okay. But pain buried does not disappear. It grows roots in silence. It finds its way into relationships, into expectations, into my very breath, and so here. Father, I exhale, not just because I am tired, but because I trust you enough now to feel. Even today. Father, some of the hurts are subtle, not loud betrayals, but quiet dismissals. The words not said, the apologies never offered, the closeness withheld. I used to tell myself these wounds were small, not worth naming, but the soul does not measure pain by volume. It feels it by presence. And if I keep brushing aside what lingers, I make no space for healing. I do not want to carry even the silent H's any longer. So I hand them to you now. Every overlooked moment, every silent sorrow. And still, Father, letting go feels risky. What will remain if I stop rehearsing the pain? What fills the space once occupied by sorrow? I realize now that is what faith is. It is not only trusting you to take the pain, but believing you will fill the emptiness with something better, that you will plant joy where grief once grew, that you will shape peace where chaos once ruled, that what I lose in pain, I gain in presence. Father, I have seen glimpses of this already in the stillness that followed yesterday's surrender, in the quiet clarity of my breath, in the surprising gentleness toward myself. It is almost unfamiliar, this kindness. But I think that is because I am learning to reflect your heart back toward my own. A heart that does not condemn, a heart that sits beside sorrow and still calls me beautiful. There are memories I want to revisit, not to relive the pain, but to reclaim the truth buried beneath the rubble. Not every moment that hurt was meant to destroy me. Some revealed what I could endure. Some taught me to pay attention. Some forced me to ask deeper questions about love, boundaries, presence, hope. Even in the breaking, there was something sacred, And maybe letting go is not about discarding the memory, but honoring what I survived. Teach me, Father, how to become a gentle witness to my own story, to see my scars not as evidence of weakness, but as proof of endurance, to stop comparing my pain to another's, to stop ranking suffering on scales of worthiness. We all bleed, just in different colors, and you see it all, you honor it all, you stay through it all. And now I want to be someone who stays with myself, with others, with you. I do not want to check out when it gets hard. I do not want to run when sorrow resurfaces. I want to remain rooted in the truth that you are present, even when the pain returns, even when the letting go feels like loss again. Because I know that letting go always leads to something deeper. Not emptiness, but renewal. So help me continue this process, Father, not by forcing it, but by following your rhythm. Sometimes that looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like tears. Sometimes it looks like laughter that surprises me. But always, it looks like trust, a trust that deepens each time I choose release over resentment, each time I choose to breathe instead of brace, each time I choose to return to you instead of hiding in my own hurt. Let this become my daily posture, palms open, heart steady, soul unclenched. I do not want to grip what hurts. I want to hold what heals. Let every moment of surrender bring with it a fresh invitation to peace. And when the memories knock on the door again, let me answer not with fear, but with faith. Faith that I am not who I was in that moment. Faith that I am more than what happened to me. Faith that healing is not a destination, but a way of being. And so, Father, I walk into today not unscared, but unshackled, not without history, but with a new hope. I walk lighter, not because the past vanished, but because I have stopped carrying it as armor. I carry instead the softness of grace, the strength of surrender, the quiet courage of one who has wept and still believes. The sun is rising again, and I feel it a warmth not just on my skin, but deep in my soul, like a breeze through an open window, like water moving gently over stone, like peace, at last, becoming familiar. And though the letting go is not over, something in me knows I have begun to live again. You are still here, still listening, still near. And as I rise again this morning, heart softened by the surrender of yesterday, I find myself not at the end of healing, but standing at the edge of something deeper. Yesterday, I let go of what hurt. Today, I find myself facing what remains, and it is vulnerability. It is the invitation to stay open, even after the pain. It is the quiet courage to let the light back in. Father, I sense you asking me to not close the door I just dared to open. After all the layers I have released the grief, the anger, the regret. It would be easy now to build a new wall, to protect the rawness I uncovered. But that is not freedom. That is just another kind of fear. And I know you did not bring me this far to live halfway alive. So here I am again, holding out the fragile places, the ones that now pulse with fresh breath. unguarded and unfamiliar. The truth is, Father, staying open feels riskier than letting go. Releasing pain is one thing, but allowing joy again, trusting people again, believing beauty can still reach me. That takes a kind of courage I am not sure I have known before. And yet, I sense you whispering that this is where real life begins, not just in what we survive, but in what we choose to receive afterward. In the daring act of saying yes to life when it could hurt again. You know me, Father. You know how I scan every new moment for signs of danger. How I sometimes expect loss even before it arrives. How I listen for the shoe I think will drop, even when there is only silence. I want to unlearn that fear. I want to stop bracing and start believing. I want to step into this day without rehearsing all the ways it might break me. Let me begin again, not in self-protection, but in trust. Trust that I am stronger now, not because I am numb, but because I have learned to feel and still keep walking. Trust that you are not setting me up for disappointment, but inviting me to deeper presence. Trust that being open does not mean being naive. It means being brave in love, brave enough to let people see me. Brave enough to show up fully, not with performance, but with presence. Father, teach me what it means to live unarmored. Not careless, but clear. Not exposed, but expansive. There is a difference between tearing down walls and building thresholds. I do not want to tear myself open. I want to unfold. Gently. Naturally. The pace of grace. Let this openness be a slow blooming, not a forced vulnerability. Let me move toward others with intentional softness, not spilling everything, but not hiding either. Even now, I feel how this morning light touches differently. It does not press through me, it meets me, like it is not asking me to change, only to notice. Like the world is waiting for me to stop shielding and start seeing. Maybe this is what you meant when you called it abundant life, not easy, not without sorrow, but full of feeling, full of beauty, full of connection, full of moments that break and build and break again, and somehow make us whole. I think I used to confuse being open with being unguarded. I thought I had to let everything in, or nothing. But now I see that openness is not about removing boundaries, is about softening the heart behind them. It is about choosing to see the world with kindness before judgment, to greet others without assuming threat, to listen not just to words but to longing, to believe there is goodness even when shadows still exist. I carry wounds, Father, but I do not carry bitterness. I carry memory, but not the weight of accusation. I carry the shape of what I have lost, but not the lie that love is not worth it. And because of that, I want to open again. I want to laugh again without looking over my shoulder. I want to hold someone's hand and not wonder when they will let go. I want to walk into a room and believe I belong. Not because I have earned it, but because I am human. And that is enough. Let this be the day I stop apologizing for needing connection, for craving tenderness, for longing to be known. Let me stop pretending that solitude is always strength, that independence is always wholeness. Sometimes strength is saying, "I need help." Sometimes courage is whispering, "Please stay." Let me be that honest. Let me be that bold. Let me trust that you have placed people in my life not to fix me, but to walk beside me, and that it is okay to let them. I know not everyone will understand this version of me, the softer me, the one that pauses longer, speaks slower, loves deeper. Some may say I have changed, and they would be right. I have stopped trying to win battles that were not mine. I have stopped building homes out of disappointment. I have stopped seeing pain as the only teacher. I have started listening to peace, even when it whispers, and I have started believing that the best parts of me are the ones I used to hide. Father, if today asks me to risk vulnerability, risk compassion, risk love, I want to say yes. I want to live a life that is open enough to be moved. Moved by stories not my own. Moved by kindness I did not expect. Moved by beauty I almost missed. I want to cry when it is honest. Laugh when it is real. Forgive even when there is no apology. Stay when it would be easier to run. This is the openness I long for, not performance, but presence. Help me trust my own voice again, the one that speaks beneath the noise, the one that tells me when it is time to lean in, and when it is okay to step back, the one that does not shout but knows. I silenced that voice for too long, thinking it was not wise enough, not spiritual enough, but you dwell there too, in the deep knowing, in the quiet gut, in the tender nudges. I want to follow that voice, because I know now it has always been an echo of yours. So today, Father, I remain open, not perfectly, not completely, but willingly, willing to be shaped by grace, not shame, willing to step into connection, not just comfort, willing to try again, not because I have forgotten what hurt, but because I have remembered what heals. Because healing is not just letting go, it is also letting in hope, letting in light, letting in the possibility that what is ahead is not just different, but better. I step outside now, and the air greets me not as a stranger, but as a friend. The leaves move without fear. The sky stretches wide without hesitation. The world does not shrink from its own beauty, and neither will I. Not anymore. I will not be afraid of being seen. I will not shrink to keep others comfortable. I will not dim the parts of me that still shine. Just because someone once walked away from their light, the wind brushes my face, and I realize it is not asking for anything. It is simply offering its presence. And I want to live like that. Father, not pushing, not proving, just offering myself, my heart, my truth, freely, openly, lightly. Let this be my prayer, even if I never speak it aloud. Let my life become the kind of openness that makes others breathe easier, not harder. Let my presence carry peace. And if I tremble, let it not be from fear, but from awe. Awe that I am still here, that I can feel again, that I can love again, that I can choose to remain open. Even now, even still, even after everything. Father, there you are again, quiet, constant, patient, and here I am, still unfolding. After learning to remain open, after daring to stand without armor, I feel the rawness of real life against my skin. But I also feel something deeper now, something almost imperceptible at first, a slow movement under the surface, a shifting, a becoming, like the ground of my soul is being tilled for something new. It is not dramatic, not loud, no fireworks, no grand declarations. Just the gentle, almost unnoticed rhythm of transformation taking root, and it humbles me. Father, how you choose to work not in noise, but in nuance. How you move in the quiet places I often overlook. The way morning light inches across the floor without fanfare. The way wounds do not shout when they begin to close. The way strength arrives, not with a roar, but with breath. This morning, I do not wake asking for miracles. I wake asking for awareness, for the eyes to see what is already growing, because I know now that becoming is not a finish line to cross, but a process to yield to. It is not about striving. It is about staying. Staying when it would be easier to numb out. Staying when no one is watching. Staying when progress is invisible. Staying because something holy happens when we refuse to abandon ourselves. Father, help me be faithful to the quiet work, the unseen steps, the decisions no one applauds, the forgiveness no one hears, the integrity when no one is looking. These are the roots of who I am becoming, not the moments that shine, but the moments that shape. Help me honor the process, even when it feels like nothing is changing fast enough. Even when I want to measure growth in leaps instead of inches. Let me not despise the slow days. The days when nothing clicks. The days when old patterns return. The days when the ground feels dry again. Let me not mistake these pauses for failure. Let me trust that even in stillness, the soil is doing its sacred work. That even when I cannot see movement, you are planting resilience. You are weaving depth. You are creating space for something deeper than the surface could ever hold. I used to want transformation to feel spectacular. Now I crave something steadier. A rootedness that does not vanish with the weather. A way of living that can hold sorrow and joy in the same breath. That can rise with purpose even when emotion lags behind. Becoming is not about always feeling strong. It is about choosing to continue. To keep tending what matters. To keep loving what is real. To keep showing up as the person you are forming in me. Father, if you are patient with my process, let me be too. Let me stop criticizing my pace. Let me stop comparing my timeline. Let me remember that you are more interested in who I am becoming than how quickly I arrive. Let me surrender the myth that growth must be visible to be valuable. That progress must be impressive to be worth it. Teach me to celebrate the quiet milestones. The morning I got up when I wanted to stay in bed. The evening I breathed instead of breaking. The moment I offered grace when it was not returned. Some days, becoming looks like forgiveness. Other days, it looks like boundaries. Sometimes it means holding on. Sometimes it means letting go. Sometimes it means sitting in the tension and trusting that healing does not always look like relief. But in every version, you are here, shaping me, not with pressure, but with presence, not by force, but through invitation. You do not demand transformation, you cultivate it. And that makes all the difference. I confess. Father, there are days I feel like I have made no progress. When the voices of doubt return louder than before, when I slip back into old habits I thought I would outgrown. But even then, something has shifted. Because now, I notice. Now, I pause. Now, I reach for you instead of hiding. That alone is evidence of the work of awareness, the work of gentleness, the work of slowly becoming more whole. You have never asked me to become perfect, only to become honest, to become present, to become open to being loved, even when I do not feel worthy. And is not that the miracle of becoming, that we do not earn it, we allow it. We participate in it. We surrender to it. We do not push the river. We learn to float with it, trusting the direction, trusting the current, trusting that it knows how to carry us towards something beautiful. I want to let go of the need to prove I am changing. Let me be quiet about it. Let me be humble about it. Let the evidence be in my peace, not my performance. Let others feel the change, not because I announce it, but because I embody it, because I have stopped reacting, because I listen longer, because I respond with softness, because I choose calm over control, clarity over chaos, compassion over critique. Father, if becoming means breaking patterns that once felt like home, give me courage. If it means walking away from what used to define me, give me clarity. If it means becoming someone I have not fully met yet, give me grace for the awkward in between. Help me trust that I am not lost, I am just being reshaped, not dismantled, but reassembled. And each piece, even the ones that felt like failures, can become part of something sacred. Even now, I see glimpses in the way I pause before I speak, in the way I comfort myself instead of waiting to be rescued, in the way I choose silence over reaction. These are small victories, but they matter. They are signs of roots growing deeper, even if no one else sees. They are the quiet fruit of the seeds we have been planting together in the dark, and I trust that in time, they will bloom in ways I could never orchestrate on my own. So today, I take another step, not a leap, not a sprint, just one more gentle step. A breath, a choice, a return. I place my hand over my heart and thank you for how far we have come. I won't rush what is still unfolding. I won't curse what is not finished. I will honor the version of me that is here today, soft, steady, still becoming. And as I step into this day, I carry the quiet confidence that I am not who I was, not just because of what I have done, but because of how I now see, because of how I now trust, because of how I now stay, even when it is hard. That is enough. That is sacred. That is the slow, brave work of becoming. Let this be the prayer that lingers beneath my tasks. Let it guide my hands and temper my tone. Let it be the rhythm I walk to, the light I return to, the kindness I extend to myself and others. Let me live like one who is being remade not perfectly, but presently. And in this becoming, let me meet you over and over again. Father, it is in the quiet stillness of this morning that I come before you again, with my breath steady and my soul tender. Father, you have brought me far not by force, not by demand, but by the gentle unfolding of days, the sacred rhythm of surrender. And as I step from the long season of becoming, I begin to notice how remembrance itself becomes a sanctuary, a sacred place I return to, not to dwell in the past, but to anchor myself in the truth of all you have already done. Remembering does not mean reliving, and it does not mean retreating. It means gathering the sacred breadcrumbs you have left along the path. It means noticing the fingerprints of grace on what once felt like ruin. It means lifting my eyes to see how far we have traveled, not so I can boast, but so I can bless the journey with gratitude. It means whispering, "You were faithful there," and letting that whisper echo forward into today. It is easy, Father, to forget in the fog, to lose sight of goodness when the present feels clouded. But this morning, you call me back to the altar of memory, not to stir up regret, but to reignite reverence. Because when I remember how you sustained me through what I thought would break me, I breathe differently, I stand taller. I move with the quiet courage of someone who has already been rescued once and knows rescue will come again. Remembrance is a holy practice, not just mental recall, but soul awakening. It is when I look back not just with human eyes, but with healed ones, eyes that now see what they could not when the pain was fresh, eyes that recognize your hand in the delay, your mercy in the detour, your wisdom in the closed door. And oh, how many times you saved me from what I begged you give me. How many times you protected what I did not yet know to value. How many times you gave not what I asked for, but what I needed most: clarity, healing, space to grow. Father, help me become a keeper of sacred memories. Let me not treat the miracles as common. Let me not move so fast into the next need that I forget to honor the provision that already came. Let me revisit the moments that shaped me, not just the victories, but the valleys, because it was in the valley that my roots went deeper. It was in the H that I learned to hear your whisper. It was in the silence that I learned how to stay. These are not just memories, they are monuments to your faithfulness. Sometimes I forget that remembering is a form of worship. That when I call to mind the goodness I have known, I am proclaiming truth over the lies that sneak in. The lie that I am alone. The lie that I have made no progress. The lie that you are distant or silent. But when I remember, I testify. I tell my own heart, He was there. He is still here. And He will not leave. And in that remembering, I am strengthened, not by wishful thinking, but by the reality of a God who has never once abandoned me. Let my remembering not be sentimental, but sacred. Let it not be about clinging to what was, but allowing it to fuel my trust in what is and what is to come. Let it stir in me a reverence for each small moment. I once overlooked the latter in the midst of grief, the sunrise after the storm, the conversation that healed more than I realized. Let me notice what was holy all along. Father, sometimes I treat my past like a weight to carry, rather than a well to draw from. But this morning, I bring it all to you. I bring the memories I have locked away, the ones too painful to name. I bring the forgotten joys and the quiet triumphs. I bring the people I have lost, the moments I wish I could relive, the pieces of myself I thought were gone forever. And I ask you to weave it all into the tapestry you have always been creating. No thread wasted, no tear unnoticed, no chapter left unused. Teach me to remember with honesty, not with filters or fantasies, but with grace, with compassion for the version of me who did not know what I know now. Let me honor her instead of judging her. Let me bless her for surviving. Let me thank her for trying. Let me meet her with kindness and welcome her into this present moment, not as a shadow, but as part of the whole story. Let my memory become a source of light, not shame. Let it soften me, not harden me. Let it open my hands, not clench them. Because when I remember rightly, I see that every moment, no matter how mundane or messy, was a step along the path to now. And now is holy too, not because it is perfect, because it holds the fingerprints of all that has shaped me. You, Father, have been the one constant thread through every season, through heartbreak and healing, through silence and song, through fear and freedom. And today, I anchor myself not in a feeling, but in remembrance, the kind that steadies the soul, the kind that recenters the heart, the kind that allows me to move forward with courage, because I know the road I have already walked with you. Let me build altars in the landscape of my life, places of remembrance, where I return not to stay, but to give thanks. Let me mark the places where you showed up when I least expected. Let me keep record not of wrongs, but of redemption. Let me teach my heart to trust by rehearsing the rescue. Not so I become stuck in the past, but so I am empowered in the present. Even the simple act of breathing this morning is a form of remembering my body saying, I am still here, my spirit echoing, and so is God. Each inhale a return, each exhale a release. And in that rhythm, I find you again, not as someone distant, but as someone familiar, someone who has walked every step beside me, even when I did not know how to reach for you. Let this be my morning practice, not just to rise, but to remember, not just to hope, but to honor, not just to long for more, but to look back in gratitude for what already is, in a world that tells me to move faster, to accumulate, to forget what lies behind. Let me be a person who pauses, who lights a candle for the memory, who kneels at the altar if he was there, who refuses to be hurried out of awe. And as I move into the rest of this day, let that remembering become my strength. Let it speak louder than fear. Let it guide my decisions. Let it soften my tone. Let it shape the way I see others, not as strangers, but as fellow travelers who also carry memories that have made them who they are. Let me walk gently because I remember how fragile I have been. Let me love generously because I remember how much I needed kindness. Let me extend grace because I remember how it felt to be forgiven. Father, you are the keeper of all my days. Nothing has been wasted, nothing forgotten by you. And so I choose to remember not as a way to relieve pain, but as a way to reclaim peace. To say, look what God has done, and let that testimony become my anthem. Not just in church, but in traffic, not just in prayer, but in presence. Not just when life is good, but especially when it is hard. I remember, Father, and in remembering, I become more whole. Dear Father, as this final morning prayer takes its breath in me, I come to you once more not with conclusions, but with continuation, not with answers wrapped in clarity, but with wonder still alive. Father, you have been the thread in every chapter, the breath in every pause, the strength behind each surrender. And now, as I stand at the edge of this sacred rhythm, I do not feel its ending, but its opening, for the journey of faith never closes, it only deepens. This morning, I do not arrive with more than I started. I still carry questions, I still wake with fragile places, but something in me has shifted, not in grand visible ways, but in quiet ones, the kind that take root below the surface, the kind that grow in the unseen. I am learning, slowly and tenderly, that the most powerful transformation is not always what changes around me, but what softens within me. You have not always answered me with noise, Father. In fact, more often than not, your voice has come in the hush between thoughts. Beneath sorrow, behind the scenes, you have taught me to listen not just with my ears, but with my being, to let stillness be a kind of sanctuary, to let my breath be a kind of bridge. And in that sacred quiet, I have come to know you not as a distant God demanding perfection, but as a loving presence inviting me to stay close, even when I do not understand. This entire journey, these 24 sunrises of surrender, has not been a road I conquered. It has been a path I walked with trembling hands and steady grace. You met me in the numbness. You waited for me in the fog. You held me in the loss. You celebrated my returning. And each morning, when I whispered again, you were there, not to fix me, but to walk with me, to remind me that being with you was the point all along. Now, as I reflect on what it means to end this prayer, I realize it is not an ending at all. It is a breath between movements, a comma, not a period, a place to pause. Give thanks and keep going, because faith is not one long prayer, it is 1,000 little ones breathed throughout the day. It is the way I show up with kindness, the way I let silence speak, the way I choose trust even when doubt knocks loudly. And these prayers have simply helped me remember how to begin. Father, let this chapter not close a book, but open a life that prays even while walking, a life that listens even when busy, a life that reflects you not only in words, but in how I carry my heart. Let me not forget that you do not only live in the high moments or the sacred spaces. You are found in cracked mornings and messy kitchens, in crowded sidewalks and quiet rooms. You are here, always breathing with me. If there is one thing this journey has taught me, It is that I do not need to be extraordinary to be loved by you. I do not need the right words or perfect timing. I do not need to have everything figured out. I only need to come and keep coming. Every morning, every moment, with joy or with tears, with strength or with weariness, as I am, that is all you ask. Let my life be the continuation of this prayer. Let my hands be extensions of this hope. Let my gaze carry the softness you have placed in me. Let my pace slow enough to notice the holy woven into the ordinary. And when I am tempted to rush back into the noise, remind me of this stillness, this peace that rises not because circumstances are calm, but because you are constant. I do not want to forget what it feels like to meet you here, to rise with intention, to let my soul breathe before the world asks too much of me. I want this morning rhythm to become more than a practice. I want it to become a posture, one of openness, one of gentleness, one of expectancy. Because with you, even the smallest surrender becomes sacred. So I leave this prayer not as someone who has reached the summit, but as someone who has discovered the joy of the climb, the beauty of returning, the grace of being held. I carry the echoes of every chapter into this day. I carry the quiet confidence that I am not walking alone. And I carry the sacred trust that you will meet me again tomorrow, and every morning after. To those who have listened alongside me, I offer this. Thank you for walking this path with an open heart. Thank you for meeting the mornings with wonder. Thank you for allowing space for your soul to breathe. You have made this journey more than personal. You have made it shared. You are not alone. You never were. I invite you to share your heart below. Share your prayers, your longings, your silent hopes. Let this be a space where sacred stories meet, where your voice is not only welcome, it is needed. Your honesty may be someone else's healing. Your reflection may be someone else's reminder. Your light may help someone find their own. And if this journey has stirred something in you, if it has brought you even a single moment of peace, then let it continue. Let it ripple outward. Subscribe to stay close. Share this light with someone who may need it. Let your mornings begin not just with habit, but with presence. Not just with a checklist, but with a choice to listen, to breathe, to believe, because the prayer never really ends. It lives in how we rise, in how we remember, in how we reach, in how we rest. And now, as the light begins to stretch across the edge of the horizon, I let this final word drift like a leaf on the surface of calm water, not to disappear, but to travel onward. A soft wind stirs, a new day begins, and somewhere in the stillness, a soul remembers what it means to be alive.